Well, we're not far away from the opening bounce of Derby 41. Ross Lyon has given us access to the room, and he's outlining pre-game strategies that they've discussed throughout the week.
I'll tell you what you can see. You can see 100% focus from every set of eyes in that room. Have a look at the players there taking in every word, the message on the whiteboard, what their roles to be. That there is concentration of a different level than we see week to week at local football. This is AFL football.
Well, that's right, and there's not much rah-rah going on there. Gone are the days where there's a real pump-up half an hour before a game. He's just going through the final basic messages of what they've worked on throughout the week, Jerry.
King, you've seen both Fremantle games. Round one, their entries into the forward half were abysmal. Round two against Geelong, they were terrific.
Well, we heard Ross Lyon talk about that, and that's what he'd be reinforcing to this group. The questions being asked there by players of Ross, getting that last instruction. But you can see there the forward 50 entries, Jared. In round one, they were poor. They really butchered the ball inside that forward half. That last kick, which you call the money ball, Brownie, inside forward 50. And you can see the rate there, well down on the AFL average of 50% scoring every second entry. But he corrected it last week. Have a look here at the table across the competition. Inside 50 kicks to the corridor. Fremantle go for the hot spot. They go where you can convert easily. 58%, which is 8% higher than any other team in the competition. So for those who think Ross Lyon's not aggressive with his ball use, it's a nonsense. He is, Brownie.
No, there's no doubt. And I think he has moved with the times a little bit. He was more defensive back in St Kilda's day, but he's identified the style that the premiership sides are playing like Hawthorn. He knows they need to be a little bit more attacking to complement that really good team defence they've done over the last couple of years.
But the secret is clearly their work at stoppages. We heard Ross earlier up in the box how much value he puts on the stoppages, and it comes down to these monster midfielders.
Well, it does. And I don't think there's a better midfielder in the competition. Big body midfielder's always hard to bring down, hard to tackle. Of course, Sandilands is putting him down their throat. He can hit to multiple options. He can go long, he can go in tight. And these numbers are fantastic, aren't they, King?
20 players on their list, 189 centimetres and above. Not only are they tall, they are wide. And when Aaron Sandilands is keeping that ball in tight and tapping the ball in close, they can burst, they can break into space, Jared, and that's where they're dangerous.
If the West Coast are going to win, they need to do well in their forward 50. One of their guns is Mark Lacroix, and he's with Dwayne.
Mark Lacroix does join me. Could be a big milestone for Mark Lacroix too today. Could be goal number 300. Welcome. And 299. Do you want to get it out of the way with a crowd run on?
I'm not expecting too much of a reaction if it does come, but it'd be nice to get one early and sort of get a score on the board, mate. We'll see how we go.
You do have good goal kicking power. That is one trump card you've got, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we feel like we've got a pretty strong forward line, and we've just got to try and focus on keeping it in our forward half, so it gives us a few chances.
28 degrees today, and you've had 2 extra days rest. Does that count for anything?
I don't think so. Not in Perth. I mean, we're used to it. We've trained in weather like that for sort of 6 months now. So same as Freo, and I think a 7-day break for them, I don't think it'll play a factor at all.
And did I read in the local press you're the one who raises your performance the most on Derby Day to the all-time high for champion data points? Is that correct?
I'm not too sure. I'm not too familiar with the champion data stuff myself, but
you've got Pav and the rest covered. The article said.
No, I don't know about that. We'll see. Matty Rosa struts around the gym with his Ross Glendenning medal on, so we'll see how we go today.
Wish you the best of luck. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Yes, a fantastic player to watch. And his partner in crime, of course, is Josh Kennedy, who's been in great form.
Yeah, he's been very much one out there. Of course, big 10 goals last week, and I don't think Carlton put a lot of work into him, getting the loose man across in front of him. I think that'll change today, King.
Most of those goals come in the corridor. That will not happen today. I can assure you Fremantle will push back pretty hard, Jared, and block that space.
I think they've got Ibbotson, Duffield, Johnson, so they've got plenty of personnel that's able to do that.
Well, I know it's your first Derby, Brownie, and I know you're super excited. So too are the players making their debuts.
My first Derby, it was pretty daunting. I think as a skinny little kid weighing about 70, 80 kilos, coming up against Aaron Sandilands is always going to be pretty tough. So especially on a stage like that, yes, it's something I won't forget. In my head, I guess I'd played it out in my mind the whole week leading into it, thinking how am I going to jump against that big, the fridge, whatever he was. And yeah, I think going up against him, and after a few times you just get used to it and you feel pretty comfortable. But as a kid coming in and seeing some of these bigger blokes, it was, especially Aaron being as big as what he is, yeah, it's something I'll never forget.
My first Derby, I think, was in 2006. I think it was my second game, and all I remember was playing on Paul Medhurst and Jeff Farmer, one out in the goal square as a young kid, so they had all these tricks up their sleeve and found that pretty daunting at the time. You know, something that teaches you how to play on the best players.
Obviously, being a WA boy, playing in derbies, it's a great thing. My first derby, Juddy, Curry, the boys were on fire and just led by example. So to get my first win in my first derby was a great experience.
Derby 41 and the undefeated Dockers are first out onto the ground, full of confidence after wins over Port Adelaide and Geelong in the opening round. Jonathan Brown joins me on the boundary line. It's your debut derby as well, Brownie.
Well, I can hardly hear anyone out here. I certainly can't hear you, Jared. It's fantastic. What an atmosphere. The players would be revved up, ready to go.
You said earlier that besides the Anzac Day game, this is probably the biggest day of the home and away calendar.
Well, it is, and obviously a massive rivalry in the competition. There's been some fantastic ones over the year. It's been evenly poised. Fremantle have won the last 5. They're going as favourites today, but West Coast were pretty good last week.
Yes, it's fantastic when both sides can come in off a win. Fremantle, of course, have brought in Crozier, and they've lost the little powerhouse Ballantyne out with a couple of weeks suspension.
They have, that's right. And a big match-up for Luke McFarlane, probably on Josh Kennedy. He gets that one. Matty Pavlich has been in fantastic form for a guy going on 34 years of age. And Stephen Hill had 750 metres gained last week. 500 is classed as elite. They'll need to shut him down.
And the West Coast lineup made a couple of changes. Butler and Hill in for Bennell and Tunbridge.
That's right. A big one here is Rosa. He may play on that Stephen Hill matchup. He done really well on Chris Judd last week. Elliot Yeo, will he play on Matthew Pavlich like he did in the NAB Challenge? Also, Shannon Hearn. They really need him to help get out of this fabled Fremantle press.
Wouldn't be surprised if Shannon Hearn was tagged as he has done, but if you're in the West Coast box, who would you tag for Fremantle? Because they've got so many big-bodied midfielders. They've got a couple of fantastic outside runners as well.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to contend with those big-bodied inside mids. I think they're going to get the ball no matter what. So I'd like to see a tag go out to Stephen Hill, and I think they'll probably try and put a bit of work into him. Will it be Matt Rosa, who was able to do a good job on Chris Judd last week? Josh
Kennedy looms as one of the key players in this outfit. I don't think he'll have the room in front of him, that free corridor as was presented last week.
No, exactly right. And West Coast are number one in the competition for their efficiency when they go inside 50. Against, though, a very miserly team defence in Fremantle. Here they come, West Coast. What a how loud is this, Jared?
Absolutely fantastic as the West Coast come onto the ground. And Nick Natanui in superb form early in the piece. He's going to really have to take it up to the Giant Sandlands if they're to win.
Yeah, that's right. And Nick Natanui is a star of the competition. Like you said before, Jared, he's had a full pre-season, first one in a couple of years. He's now able to get around the ground and contribute with some of those aerial contests. And they've got a couple of injuries to key players, key defenders, and obviously Jack Darling's not there as well.
Well, David King is with Adam Simpson. Far away, Kingy.
It's unbelievable. That boys ready for this? They ready to go?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, pretty much just told them to be brave. Don't die wondering.
What's the message on the whiteboard apart from be brave? Where do you need to be strong today?
Oh, look, we know that Fremantle's strength across the midfield and their score sources half and come from the midfield as well. But if we worry too much about that, we won't get the ball ourselves.
What's the planning with Nat 5?
Yeah, we'll give him a little bit of attention.
Who will it be?
We'll find out in about 10 minutes.
Good on you, mate. Good luck today. Hope it goes well.
No, thanks, King.
Yes, and what a play he has been. Conservatively, I think he's racked up 5, but probably 6 Brownlow votes.
Well, yes, he's the star of the competition. He's in the realm now of Gary Ablett and Buddy Franklin as the best players in the competition. Tough matchup, Jared, because he can go forward and take a strong contested mark as well and kick goals.
Well, Ross Lyon believes if they can bolster their midfield enough, he can go forward and become one of the members of your power forward division. He's a hell of a player.
He really might get a mention on the couch, but that's one of the great strengths, and I think that takes a midfielder to the elite status if they can go forward and kick goals.
Well, we're not far away from the opening bounce. It's Derby 41. The stars are here. The crowd's here. Dwayne Russell will take us to the action after this.
Mathers from goal, kicking for space. Look at McManus. Oh my goodness.
He's in trouble.
Favourite derby memory would be when Sean McManus went back with a flight and David Ruarapunda came the other way and cleaned him up, and Shawnee got straight up and was dazed and certainly confused, but took his kick and slotted the goal. And he was the heart and soul when I first arrived at the football club of Fremantle, and that just sort of epitomised what he was about.
That's a magnificent kick. It's a goal. How about that?
My first derby was my first AFL win as well. In the last few seconds, we were under a goal up. I know that. Greg Broughton chased someone down, got him holding the ball, and I got a smother on, and they held the ball up on the wing, and then the siren went, and I had the ball in my hand. It was a great win and great feeling to have on the whole team.
Probably for me as a kid, going to a few games and seeing some of the fights that I used to have will always be, I guess, in the back of my mind.
I think I can't go past my first derby. I'd played one game at that stage. Just that first feeling of walking out with that crowd heaving, the rivalry was so fierce. I think I had 10 touches for the day, but we got over the line, and yeah, it was a pretty cool feeling.
Well, it doesn't get much better than a derby. Derby 41, round 3. Domain Stadium is packed. It's a West Coast Eagles home game, and the expectations are high on both teams. David King's downstairs in the middle of it. Welcome back, Kingy.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect conditions for football here, Dwayne. It's a hot day in Perth. Breeze slightly to the right of screen today, 1 to 2 goals, but it'll be one in the middle of the ground. I've got no doubt whichever ruckman can get superiority and give hit-outs to advantage to both gun midfields, both big-bodied midfields, particularly the Fremantle Football Club. You can just see here, this is the game in a nutshell for me. Sandlands versus Natanui. Hit-outs to advantage are the key. Sandlands the most in the competition already with 12, but Natanui generally hits to himself, hits wide of the packs, follows up, gets the ability to be a goal kicker from centre bounces. 9.5 contested possessions a week. It's a huge battle in the ruck. That'll dictate the game for me, Dwayne.
Toss of the coin, thanks, Kingy, between Shannon Hearn and Matthew Pavlich, 2 South Australians who've refused to go home. Love their clubs so much, even though the offers have been there. They've decided to stay with their beloved clubs here in WA. And Matthew Pavlich has been the best player Fremantle has seen in its 20-year history, and he just keeps looking younger every year.
And both keys to today's outcome in very different roles. Brownie, Shannon Hearn, he'll be looking for drive, looking for long bombs and delivery out of that half back line and full back line. He's a key to penetrating the forward press of the Dockers. And Pavlich, well, not enough has been written about Matthew Pavlich and his service to this club. And he's still got, I'm sure, a big chapter to write in his mind.
He's not only one of the greats in Fremantle history, the best player in Fremantle history. He's arguably the best player in Western Australian football history and also the AFL. So big one today. I'm really looking forward to seeing if Elliot Yeo ends up playing on. There's Hayden Ballantyne in the crowd. He'll be a really big loss, especially when the ball hits the ground, although there's dry conditions, so there should be a lot of marks taken inside forward 50 today.
Well, Michael Walters, I think, is yet to put in the big game so far this season. He's been threatening, but his kicking has let him down a little bit as well, and I think he's one of the finest kicks in the game, but he is due.
So Ballantyne not playing, obviously suspended. West Coast have a few out as well, it must be said, so both teams not necessarily at full strength, but it's the 22 that cross the white line that matters, and this should be a tight contest. We know the West Coast Eagles have the advantage over Fremantle all time for derbies won. West Coast Eagles 21-1 and Fremantle have won 19, but by the end of this year, in Fremantle's current form, it could well be 21 each.
Nat 5 going to the goal square. Elliot Yeo running back with him.
Natanui and Sandlands, 2 of the premier ruckmen in the competition, if not 2 best tap ruckmen. Sheed to half forward, standing under it, and a good Mark Ibbotson. He's been in good form. Not going to win your Brownlow medal, Garrick Ibbotson, but he might win a premiership medal. He's so reliable. Subin been good form as well. Walters kicks it to attacking 50. Main was down there, and that could well be a free. Dragged off the ball, and the umpire waited and then paid it to McGovern.
Early matchup for McGovern on Matty Pavlich.
And his father actually barracked for Fremantle in the first derby that he played in last year. He didn't barrack for the team that he was playing in, but he said that he's barracking for the West Coast today, which is nice for his son.
Great direction from Schofield, who essentially said, kick it over my head and get it as wide as possible.
So early tactics unfolding here.
Back they come, refusing to blaze away. Here is Schofield. And he can come wide if he wants to, just refusing to kick to the Fremantle players who are in the spaces. Cripps. West Coast Eagles home derby, so their fans getting a little restless with that. Didn't enjoy that at all. Johnson kick around the body to heel. They won't enjoy this if it's marked by Pavlich. Good collision. Yo put his body on the line. Hearn feeds it back again. They should get out of trouble. Gaff, he's got Sheed, and he's got a little shorter than that, the short option Nelson, who's playing in his first derby. So a big moment for Jackson Nelson.
Well, one way of getting out of trouble is to get out of the back 50, and they're making a very laborious job of that at the moment. Good pressure here from Fremantle.
Well, that could have been ball as well. Umpire said he didn't have prior opportunity. Mundy tries to weave some magic. That didn't look like a handball. Put the whistles away early. Prittis tried to knock it out. It is tough at the moment. Shuey, so they get it at least back to the wing. Bouncing ball. Barlow might get there. Or Kennedy. He wanted to beeline him, and McFarlane just helped with the shepherd. Barlow tackled. The umpires found it and will be high.
Got to be a bit careful when you come in as hot as Nat Nui did there. He had him pinned. He only had to put a hand on his jumper, but he gave away the head-high tackle. Good decision.
Barlow drives it to half-forward. Sandlands with the reach.
And with Nat Nui on the mark, his man gets forward.
To Hill, who's been hot. Pearce is on his left, and he sits it up high. It's a 3-on-3, goal square. Pavlich stayed down, and good smother. Still gets it back. Still a chance to spin.
Well, that's two of the easiest shots Pav's had in the history.
There it is there. He's very good. We know he's very good marking the area, but he's very good at ground level. And that's something McGovern's going to have to be careful about. He's taken a lot of intercept marks in his first 2 weeks, McGovern, but he'll have to keep his wits about him and know that Pav won't fly for every aerial contest.
Slowing it right down here to West Coast, but they've still got to hit the targets, and best way to take the pressure off is to get it out of there. But they love playing the extra one back. Fremantle, they've still got to make sure that they put it in a West Coast jumper.
Marston to Nat Nui and Sandlands, and that could be on the full. It is.
That's 2 giveaways that just not good enough. That last pressure kick. There was one on the other side of the ground into the man on the mark, and this one just straight out in the full.
It's been a strength of West Coast the first couple of weeks is their kicking efficiency. So you know that Ross Lyon would have addressed that throughout the week. They look really switched on here, Fremantle.
Sandlands to half forward. Clark up, thumped away. His knee's okay. Was able to come up this week after injuring it last week. Neil did well to Barlow, to Sandlands, to Fife, to Johnson going backwards to go forward. Sutcliffe. LeCras hunting him down. Good pressure. McFarlane, Fife trying to look for the spare man. They haven't really got one. McFarlane heads wide and Hill. Now they've got the spare. It's Clancy Pearce who can get and go. Spur. Neil. Back to Sutcliffe. Strange start to this contest. Spur to half forward. Sandlands with that reach.
That's a good decision. Just if you can't find a spare man, kick it to a bloke who has got a major height advantage.
He sits it up nicely. Clark's down there, and there's a pluck. Beautiful grab.
And quite clearly they want to get their tools forward and get it into the hands of their high marking forward line. They've got an advantage over the West Coast Eagles in the air, and they've shown that they're prepared to exploit it.
That's right. And Clark's tall and all the guys. Actually, Yo started on him. There was definitely a size mismatch there. Schofield's tried to get to him now.
So it's not their crowd, Fremantle, but they can settle their own nerves with that goal.
Good by Ross Lyon early to throw Nat Fife into the goal square. It upset West Coast matchups. Schofield had to go to Fife. Therefore, he gets a mismatch. Zach Clark, you'll see Aaron Sandilands there. He gets a mismatch against anyone. They whack it in here. Clark's there. Just come over the pack and takes a nice mark. And that'll be good for his confidence after looking like he might have hurt his knee pretty badly last week against Geelong. But he's back this week. Pressure's been very good by Fremantle early.
Back in the middle. Fremantle have won the past 5 derbies. Both teams were in great form last week. Lycett in the ruck, couldn't quite trap that. Pearce got it to Duffield, to half forward. Govan under it.
Jeez, he's a good grab, this bloke.
Held his ground, held his nerve. They were coming. He knew it. And the mongrel works for him as well.
Too.
Shepherd. Didn't get a Shepherd. Fife nearly cut him down, and now Lycett's in trouble. Marston.
Good
and now they come inside. This is better movement. Sheed looks up. He's got the runners. Ignored them, blazed away. Lecras half held off the ball. Still might get it. Cripps turned into trouble. Curtis on the left.
Just half pulled his kick. He was thinking about kicking the ball long. I think it was to Cripps. In fact, it was to McGinnity. And in the end, he did none of the above.
Just needed to commit, didn't he, Jared, and go for the goal.
Daniel Pearce.
He shouldn't be able to find a hole in the press like that. 2 holes make that.
Been very good this year, Fremantle, bringing the ball out from defence and getting it all the way to their forward line.
Back to Daniel Pearce, and on the overlap, Mundy and Mayne are both there. But Shepherd by Mayne for Mundy, and he's away to Barlow. Almost hit him lace out. He hit him on the run. He could go all the way home from there.
Great kick.
Top of the square. Taberner his target. Oh, what a brilliant grab.
That was precision footy from the kick in to this last spotted up kick to Taberner. And they should go back and kick their second goal. That was just first class ball use.
Disappointing, Jared, when you see how hard the West Coast have had to work out of their defensive end. Yep. Fremantle not giving up any space and 3 easy, uncontested targets all the way down the ground. Pretty simple.
Magnificent use of the body and a clinical finish as well from Matt Taberner.
Yeah, that was witch's hat sort of stuff, and that would be a big concern here as we take a look at this unfolding right through the Comcam, and you can just see the hand in the air, the precision kick to the outside, and he's weighted it nicely for Taberner basically just to be able to use his body and guard the space, and that's a really good mark.
Great
if you pay it.
Got up the field there, Fremantle. Ross Lyon to be very happy with the way Fremantle are moving at the moment. Created a lot of space over the back. That's a forward's dream.
And the restart. Natanui against Clark this time, and Fife breaks free. Over Pavlich's head. McGovern right with him. Pavlich first back onto it. Overran it slightly. Hill. Deft deflection with his toe. Pavlich short. Couldn't hit his target. Neal, De Boer, Clark in some space. Hands it up. Hill, put it in the book, you'd think. Hot start, Freo.
Well, some major worrying signs here for Adam Simpson. He's had 1 inside 50, and it's been the level of resistance has just been not good enough. And there's been too many mistakes made, too many fumbles, too many spare players in the forward line and through the midfield, and it's resulted in a lopsided scoreboard at the moment.
That's right, and Stephen Hill finished off, kicks the goal. He doesn't look like he has a direct matchup, Jared. I think that's something I need to pursue. There he is, the man on screen. No one near him for West Coast. I think they need to fix that up.
Silence the crowd early. Subin to half forward. Almost Pavlich with the one-hander. They settled well. Walters, he might get on the score sheet. And he does. Oh, look out.
Well, this has quickly got out of hand now for Fremantle. They'll be disappointed with their accountability in the midfield. Of course, Sandiland's the one that starts that. West Coast are unable to get their hands on the footy in tight. And then on the outside, the runners like Hill and Walters are able to finish off the good work.
Well, the
Natanui gets the
problem they've got, Natanui's won the last 2 taps, and yet they're getting brutalised through the middle after that. And Walters, he's got out of jail. 2 blokes putting pressure on 1 man. Easy goal.
We talked pre-game, he could be hot without Ballantyne forward. He could be the man. That's his 100th career goal for Michael Walters. 4 goals to 0 the start. Nat Nui again wins the tap, and again they don't get the clearance. Barlow to Fife.
Pushed an extra man in defence, the Eagles.
Someone needs to stand tall. Yo.
They're trying to manufacture Shannon Hearn to get free, but Fremantle don't want to allow that. Chris Mayne continues to look for him.
Clancy Pearce, easy knock away from Cripps.
The problem, Dwayne and Jared and Brownie, is that they've had 6 inside 50s for 4 goals won, for 5 scores. That's the real problem. 7 inside 50s now. They've had to concede the loose man, which is exactly what Ross Lyon wants.
You can see the contested possession, 17-8. They're just not winning enough football. The Eagles are not working hard enough to get numbers back and then transitioning forward.
Lacroix down back. They wouldn't want him to spend too much time down there. They won't kick a winning score.
That's a sign they're in trouble, isn't it? Kennedy short. He's at least touched the leather. He's up on the wing, about to kick it to where he'd like to be.
Josh Hill back into the side today. He's got an opportunity to re-establish his career.
3 deep. Wellingham. Can he weave some magic? Bring the crowd back into it. Hearn gets back. Not quite. Couldn't quite pluck it over Duffield.
See Hearn there just trying to sneak forward. I think he's seen now what's happening. He needs to get forward and try and put some maybe scoreboard pressure on Kia long goal.
There's a nervous air in this stadium at the moment. Pavlich, they are looking ominous.
So much space forward for Fremantle.
Clancy Pearce hit lace out, and they've got options aplenty. Sutcliffe, spare man, goal square, Taverner, he can kick his second. This is getting nasty.
What they're doing really well, Jared, is Fremantle's pressing right up the field when West Coast have it in their forward line. But when Fremantle win the ball back, they break, and then the Fremantle guys just take off into open space. And of course, Subiaco is the biggest oval in the ground, in the country, and they're able to get over the top. And West Coast is just not coping with that. Their defenders are getting sucked up the ground, and the leg speed of Fremantle at the moment is winning out. Handy start for young Matt Taverner. Of course, Matthew Pavlich's foil. They'll be really looking for him to have a big year. If he can contribute 30 goals for the year, that'd be good.
And if he can continue to grow, with Pavlich probably only having, what, 3 or 4 seasons left in him, the way he's playing. Daniel Pearce.
Centre clearance is a real concern. Once again, a one-on-one in defence.
Lacroix getting back, caught by Pavlich, drags him down. Nat Nui, the scramble, flicks it out.
This is an area that is concerned for West Coast because they've lost their 2 main key defenders in Brown and McKenzie, so they don't have a lot of aerial support there to get back and, I suppose, get third up and stop these Fremantle guys from taking the marks inside 50.
Flick down. Good attack to Bohr. Shepherd cuts it off. Marston, Nat Nui, they're getting numbers back. Where the gaff can hit a target now. They've got so many back, and it's wide. And it's on the full. McFarlane wastes no time. Ibbotson. Every West Coast player ahead of him. Just trying to stop the bleeding here. Johnson. He just sits it up. He knows everything's on their side. Sandlin's got the reach. Taverner at the back. Hearn. Lacroix. McGovern. And he slams it high. Fremantle with numbers under it. Ibbotson just made it his. Wanted it more than everyone else. Is he within range? Clancy Pearce. He sits it up. And again, Pavlich and Taverner down there. And the float from the side. Lacroix almost grabbed it. Hearn does. Pritis. And again, not a lot to kick to because there's so many inside defensive 50. Fremantle with the numbers outside, and Fife. Nice float in. They just parked the bus in soccer terminology at the moment. The West Coast are trying to get everybody inside defensive 50 just to stop it. But it's playing against them. Hill. Neal. Mayne. Well, they look unstoppable right now.
This is exciting stuff for the Dockers, Brownie. They are reducing the opposition to witches' hats. It's just hot stuff in their forward pressure here, Fremantle. And again, they're forcing good players to make bad decisions. That's a kick to a 2-on-1. And one of the 2-on-1 happens to be Nat 5, who can jump over tall buildings. So this is poor stuff. No pressure whatsoever. Lockie Neal, excellent. Gives it to Chris Martin. Away they go again.
Just having a look at the way the goals have been scored here, you can see the Fremantle Football Club being able to lock that ball in that forward 50 there and generate turnovers and then impact the scoreboard. Pretty simple stuff. 2 goals from turnovers, 2 from kick-ins, which is a rarity in one quarter of football. Most games only have 2 from kick-ins, so they're getting what they want here, the Fremantle players.
Subban had a long time to get rid of it. Main comes up, gives to Duffield, and here they go again. Taberner over the back. Clark there. A little bit of height on their side. Lacroix gets back. It was a 4-on-2 in the end. West Coast getting their numbers back. Marston wide. And out of bounds is a win for the West Coast Eagles right now.
Well, that's a scary thing, Dwayne. Adam Simpson, he's still got the best part of 9 minutes before he can get down on the ground and start to play with their heads a little bit, because this has just been completely and utterly unacceptable by the West Coast.
Yeah, in many other sports in the US, you'd call a timeout and try and get this stopped, have a chat to them, but they are under siege every time they get it. Taberner, who looks good early. Schofield knocks it away.
And what's causing West Coast a few problems is Fremantle are getting extra numbers to the contest, so they just cannot win the contested ball, can't win the clearances. They're trying to load up behind the footy, but they can't win the ball at the source, so Fremantle are doing as they please.
Sandlands knocks it down, and again they break free. Main playing out a full forward now. It's a roller that might tumble all the way through. Lockie Neal.
Yeah, very difficult to... these big midfielders, Jared, Fife, Barlow and Mundy, we spoke about him pre-game, and Sandlands just gets a little hit on there. They all contribute. Neal in there as well.
Had a little bit of spin on it, an ugly spin. It was always going to create some problems. And right now, Adam Simpson knows that he's facing one of the more difficult days of his coaching career.
Well, what does he do here, Jared? There's not a hell of a lot you can do. He tries to load up and put numbers beyond the ball, but apart from that...
Well, as you said, it's got to start at the source. It's got to get some contested ball, these stoppages, and maybe win it and hold it up a little bit, just to give people time to reset.
Sheed long. Kennedy with Gaff under him. Gaff does crumb. Good tackle, Everton Cripps. He's tackled quickly. Neal got back. Gave it to Clancy Pearce. Butler. They can reload. Shuey. And Clancy Pearce just kills it.
Spoken about this before. Fremantle have got some medium-sized defenders that can really get across and chop off the aerial contest, Jared.
Well, they're a well-drilled team, and they're undefeated at this stage, and right back to where they were 12 months ago as a premiership contender.
And this crowd is stunned. Fife caught. That could be ball. He had an enormous amount of time. Hearn, he's caught. Neal. And just taken out of play.
Well, he flies under the radar a bit, Lockie Neal, but he had a terrific season last year for Fremantle. He's had 8 possessions already today.
Won a Ross Glendinning medal in the Derby, or one of the Derbies last year as well, Lockie Neal. Jumps in on cue.
You wouldn't mind being in this midfield. He's probably the 5th priority for the opposition coach.
Absolutely. Most possessions at the club last year. It's his 50th game next week as well. So still young of games, but such a mature player the way he plays. Duffield caught, brings Lacroix down.
Better stuff from the Eagles, though. At least there was a little bit of venom in the tackle.
Yeah, I think
Ibbotson tried to just walk through them, and we've seen that a couple of times already this year with clubs not mentally attuned, blokes walking through tackles, but much better from the Eagles.
Well, Ross Lyon there not happy with something. I'm not sure what there could be that he's not happy with at the moment. Barlow, Pavlich,
they're off to
Daniel
the
Pearce. Now Hill's got a choice here. He could go all the way. There's no one in the square. He sits it up long, hoping for the roll. Main's trying to chase it down. That is simply amazing. That's as good as it gets.
Well, everybody was up the ground, and the Eagles were close to kicking a goal, but it was just so dangerous at the other end of the ground if the fast break came. And the fast break did come. Well, and whilst we don't see the great chase from Josh Hill, here he comes right of screen. He gets there half a metre too late, and Stephen Hill delivers a body blow to the Eagles and puts his hand up for one of the goals of the year.
It's a forward's dream, Jared, to have that much space behind you and that much space to run into. And
forward's dream, it's a midfielder's dream. If you're in the Dockers team right now, Brownie, it's heaven at the present time. The resistance is virtually nil, and they're doing what they like.
Most goals in a quarter in a derby is 9. And right now, Fremantle have 8. They don't look like stopping in a hurry. Shepherd still got 6.5 minutes left. Gaff wide. Sheed.
Got to take a risk and start to move the ball.
Wellingham, it's hard, isn't it? Because if all your risks so far haven't come off, do you keep taking them or do you get conservative?
Well, they started slow, Dwayne, and it's, I think, played into the hands.
All right, McGinnity gets his chance. This is a massive moment. They need it. He needs it. Crowd needed it.
Well, that sums up West Coast at the moment. I'm not sure if their effort was poor from the get-go. I think they've just been shell-shocked. Fremantle's intensity has been so great early in the game. They've been really rocked by that. Of course, now Fremantle's got their confidence up.
This is the problem here. It's been too easy coming out of their back 50. 2 goals from kick-ins is almost unheard of in a quarter of football. Just have a look. They're holding that loose man back the West Coast, and Fremantle finding their way through.
Good point, Kingy, because this was an area of improvement for Fremantle last year. They were probably disappointed with their numbers bringing it out of their defensive 50, but this year they've really improved that.
Barlow long to the one-on-one. Pavlich looked away from him by Schofield.
But the level of resistance from defence, which was once the great hallmark of the Eagles with their forward press, has been 0. You said 2 goals from kick-ins, Kingy, but also 3 from defensive 50. It seems when the Eagles are within a kick of their goal that Fremantle are the most dangerous as far as scoring at the other end, such as their capacity to transit the ball.
Just poles apart, aren't they? West Coast have counter-attacked out their back 50 8 times and you get to achieve an inside 50, but 6 of those have been turnovers and gone straight back into the Fremantle forward end. There's your disparity in the inside 50 numbers, and obviously that's going to the top of the goal square where they've simply been too good.
Sandlands with the reach down to Daniel Pearson. They're away again. Pavlich got rid of Schofield legally according to the umpire, and he can line up.
No, we've got a problem with that. They changed the rules. It's a battle of strength, and Schofield was out-muscled on that occasion.
And the fans want to see it, don't they, Jared?
Well, I think they want to see a legal battle of strength, and if you're prepared to engage...
I'm sure all the fans were happy with it.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's all that hard work he does in the gym over his 15-year career. He has not dropped off physically at all.
And he was hot with his accuracy last time here. He kicked 4 straight last time here against Port. Kicked 2-1 last week against Geelong. And that's been one of the only blemishes of the quarter for Fremantle. They haven't had many. Lysette.
Perhaps a bit more of a slinging motion in that one from Pav than I first saw, but it was borderline, but he's got away with it.
Nat Nui the target. Sandlands gets in front. Got his hands to it. Duffield slipped it out. Mundy. Spur. Johnson. Pavlich. Just over his head.
Good hands.
Hearn about to run down.
Tackle.
Took some time to get rid of it, and that could be high. West Coast just starting to get a couple of breaks.
They've been manic in their pressure, Fremantle.
Nelson. McGinnity. Critis. Kennedy was there. He kicked it longer and went to a Fife one-on-one of all the one-on-ones you can go to. Fife and Rosa.
Yeah, straight over the head of Josh Kennedy. He was free there. A bit shell-shocked, as you said, and I think even the best players are making ordinary decisions.
De Boer's free on the wing. He's got a couple of runners inside. Got Sandlin screaming for it in the middle.
Poor old Elliot Yeo and Zach Clark down the line. Needs a step ladder, I think.
Neil. 3 minutes left in the quarter, and it can't tick by quickly enough for the West Coast right now. Rosa. McCrae. Danger. Little flick on. Wellingham. He can go back. He's got an outlet. Yo. Can they sneak one here, the West Coast, before quarter time? Give themselves some momentum at least heading into the first break.
It's going to be really difficult now. 47 points down, and the energy and the life would have really been sucked out of the Eagles guys coming into quarter time now. And Adam Simpson will be trying to think about what to say here, how he's going to rev the troops up. He'll look to make a couple of match-up changes. Might be a little bit of ranting and raving, maybe target a couple of guys, but guys inside just need to win the contested footy.
Right now, this is on track to be the biggest quarter time lead of any derby so far. This is Derby 41. And a few Fremantle fans that couldn't get a ticket to this one because it's a West Coast home game. I'm sure you're enjoying this at home.
Kingy, I don't think it's there'll be too much ranting and raving. I reckon his best option is go positive, and it's a start again scenario. Look for some leaders to get some footy, but too late for the rant and the rave.
Yeah. Fife gave it to Lockie Neal. That's two monsters he's kicked.
I haven't seen a one-sided match like this for a long time, and I don't think I've ever seen a derby as one-sided as this. This is just a lack of resistance. There's almost none. It
is lack of resistance, and the tackling pressure has been amazing by Fremantle, really, and they're dominating on the scoreboard. Usually when you dominate on the scoreboard, you don't dominate the tackle count, but they're dominating the tackle count. They're dominating all stats in that regard. 38-24, the contested possessions.
Fans are stunned. Absolutely stunned here. Coming off a magnificent victory last week, the West Coast, but they're on the canvas already. And we're not yet to quarter time. Lockie Neal doing it at both ends.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Macy.
Equal most goals ever in a quarter in a derby. Fremantle have that now, biggest margin ever at quarter time in a derby. Mundy bangs it to half forward. Good mark to Hearn.
The West Coast midfielders become really reactive now. Not taking it up to Fremantle. They're not moving around stoppages. Just following the Fremantle mids.
Rose's handball, terrible. Could have been ball, could have been high. Umpire said just play on, boys.
Had to be one of them, surely.
Rosa rolls it to half forward. Kennedy, but they've got a minute left, the West Coast. Oh, that could have been high as well. He did run into a stationary Clancy Pearce.
And whilst the free kick was given away, what was instructive was there was two Dockers players there, and they have outnumbered their opposition at every contest.
It's got plenty on it, and it's feeding back, but not enough. He had the range.
And I guess if there was any sort of semblance of a positive for the Eagles in this quarter, Kingy, it's that they would have the assistance of a small breeze in the second quarter.
It's a 9-goal breeze to the right-hand side, Jared.
Yeah.
No, it's probably a 1 or 2 goals, but it certainly sapped the confidence of the Eagles kicking into it. There's no doubt.
Kennedy almost pulled that in. .43 seconds left in a record-breaking opening term. Derby 41. Nat Nui, little palm down straight to his opponent. Clark, Hill, Nothing going right for the West Coast. Daniel Pearce. He doesn't want to blaze away to the wall that's been formed. Hill. The open side to Clancy Pearce. Still a chance for one more here for Fremantle. 20 seconds and counting to Duffield.
Sandland sneaking forward, Dwayne.
Main's down there, Sandland's down there, Pavlich down there. Pav floated in nicely, couldn't pull it down. Knocked away by Rosa. Just scrambles the kick away, down to 5 seconds. And the sooner this siren sounds, the better for the West Coast. Few applause from Fremantle fans who have come, snuck a seat here. They must be delighted with what they've seen so far. You always see history unfold in a derby. We weren't expecting this kind of history. 52 points the margin at quarter time. You always expect the unexpected when you come to an AFL game these days, but I've got to say no one expected the demolition job we just saw in the opening term by Fremantle. They not only kept the West Coast Eagles goalless, but they kicked 9 themselves. 4 behinds the West Coast, 9-2, 56 Fremantle. And it's hard to find the words to describe how big that demolition job was.
Well, it was shocking, Dwayne. The contested possessions were an absolute demolition there. The hit-outs are quite similar. But what Fremantle's doing really well is they're controlling the stoppages. They've been able to shark some of Nat Nui's hit-outs. And they seem a lot more proactive around the stoppages. They're a lot more physical on the West Coast midfielders. And they're moving a lot better. And, of course, they're doing the slingshot a hell of a lot better as well.
Well, I just love their ball movement. But David King is down on the ground. Kingy?
Didn't have to be on the ground, Jared, to hear that one. Could have stayed in the boundary line. Adam Simpson not happy with the level of bravery from his players. He challenged them in the pre-game, get their head over the ball and take it to this midfield of the Fremantle Dockers, but they haven't done that. They failed that test, and you can see he's asking them now to start again. Forget the scoreboard, start again and see if they can get something out of this game in the next 3 quarters. The challenge now is putting your head over the ball. Every contest has a career-defining moment attached to it, Jared.
And I think at this stage, Adam Simpson knows that the game is probably already gone, probably was 15 minutes ago. So he has got to drag something out of his group to underpin the next part of the season, Brownie. This is just got to prevent this from being the triple figure blowout it is indicated that it may well end up as.
Well, that's right. It starts in the engine room, Jared. And guys like Shuey, Rosa, Gaff, Prittis, Wellingham, Maston need to stand up and start to get physical with the Fremantle midfielders like they did with the Carlton mids last week.
Still 3 quarters of football left in this one. Can the West Coast hit back? That's the massive question. Every fan here that's come for this West Coast home game is asking themselves, regardless of who wins this game, it could well be one of the most memorable derbies of all time. It will be certainly if West Coast get up from 52 points down. And right now, Fremantle are stalking their biggest ever win against the West Coast. Lacroix feeds it back to Sheed, to Gaff. McFarlane just plucked that from nowhere.
He's been one of the highlights of the early fortnight of footy, Luke McFarlane. Just the fact that he looks so lean, so fit and healthy for a bloke who was considering retirement. Already better pressure from the Eagles.
Absolutely. They needed a timeout halfway through that term. Just to reset. McGinnity caught, gang tackled. And you're right about McFarlane, Jared. Moves up today to become the 3rd greatest Docker game player of all time. Passes Sean McManus.
Exactly.
Sandlands. Hill. Taberner got there to make a contest.
You make a very good point there before, Jared. In the pre-seasons they've had, McFarlane, Pavlich and Sandilands have all had really good pre-seasons. As you get older, certainly past the age of 30, it becomes even more important to get a full pre-season in because that builds that resilience. And for Fremantle to go all the way and win a premiership this year, they'll need McFarlane, Pavlich and Sandilands to play most of the year.
Well, they were crippled by injury late in the season, but already this game has got a slightly different look. I know it's only a minute or 2 in, But each of the Docker players has been kicking the ball under pressure for the first 3 minutes of the match.
There might have been that bit of rah-rah ranting and raving at quarter time, Jared. Bit of an old school approach by Adam Simpson.
Possibly. Maybe he just said what Kingy said, contracts will be looked at each and every contest.
Sandlin's beautiful palm down to Daniel Pearce. On his left foot, on the move. Big fly, Clark. Gee, he looks good.
He's one of the keys to their premiership aspirations this bloke. They need another tall marking forward.
Daniel Pearce can kill with that left, and Walters marks in the pocket.
So it's okay to have a response in the first 2 or 3 minutes, but the Eagles didn't get it on the scoreboard, and now the Dockers have another opportunity with the little sharpshooter.
I'm not sure, Brownie, he went with contracts at quarter time per se, but you get the feeling there's a few on a knife's edge here, Jared.
King spoke about the money kick by Fremantle coming into the forward line. That's where Fremantle's been really good the first couple of weeks, and that was another terrific kick to Walters.
He works that back, but not enough.
All clear. Next question,
Warm conditions as well, and Fremantle coming off 2 days less break from the West Coast Eagles, so maybe the West Coast could be full of run at the end, but right now they don't look like stopping, and they've got players everywhere. Walters, front spot, good hands, too strong.
Probably the best small forward combination in the competition. Hayden Ballantyne, of course, is suspended today, but Michael Walters is right up there as well, Jared.
Yeah, they're very exciting, the pair, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of goals.
Michael Walters, what a comeback it was for him last year. He was out for so long, but he's had a massive pre-season, and this should be his best year. He's yet to really turn it on, but today could be the day.
Tough matchup. He can mark the ball really well for a smaller guy. Very good at ground level, of course, and a terrific left foot kick.
Never in doubt. Ballantyne watching on from the stands, and I think he'll be enjoying it.
Oh, he'll be dirty. Boy, would you miss this party that's going on, Brownie? For a little small forward.
Yeah, good to be playing forward. You're just setting up nicely, and they'd be Adam Simpson would be terribly disappointed with a little midget taking a mark, a pack mark. He can take a high mark, but fair dinkum, there were 6 or 8 players in that pack. Let themselves down, and he's another one of the goal-scoring options Fremantle have, and they've got multiple options, not only their big fellas.
Ankle injury kept him to just 8 games and 15 goals last year, Michael Walters. They've got stars wherever you look right now, Fremantle. They're looking better in 2015 maybe than they've ever looked before. Sandlin's undefeated, of course, the Dockers, and they could be top of the ladder tonight, depending on the scores. Pavlich on the move, hands it to Neil. Main, Pavlich, Hill. 48 out, he can go back.
I think the positive for the Dockers right now, and there's plenty to choose from, but the former Chris Main has been a concern for them. They gave him some time in the defence through the pre-season. Just not quite knowing whether or not he was going to nail this forward position again. He struggled last year, but he is on fire today.
Oh, he's been terrific, and he really leads the charge with his tackling pressure. Trying to get to Shannon Hearn early, who hasn't had much of an influence.
Strikes it pretty well, does Hill. Oh, West Coast, they're just rabbit in the headlights.
Stephen Hill there, he's had a great start of the game. I think that's his 3rd goal. He's been sitting. He's had a great season, hasn't he? And has a lot of metres gained. There's some more metres there, about 60 of them. But he's been standing out in the wing on his own. Only just then the last centre bounce before that, Chris Maston decided to stay out there with him. That's all well and good before the umpire bounced the ball, but you need to stick with him during the course of the play, and you see Hill ran forward there on his own.
Well, he's been left to run rampant, Stephen Hill, and he has been exciting to watch.
He won the medal in the Derby around 15 last year, and he has started this season brilliantly. If not for the form of maybe Fife and Mundy, he'd probably have 4 or 5 Brownlow votes himself. Ibbotson stands under that with courage.
Another one that was injured a fair bit of last year, Garrett Ibbotson, and he's a handy re-inclusion because he plays tall and he can intercept mark like we just saw as well as most.
Clancy Pearce. Sutcliffe.
I think that's a strength of Fremantle too. They've got a lot of guys that can intercept mark in defence to start their flow of play.
Have a little fumble. Main. Oh, tried to be clever. It didn't quite work. Schofield outside of the boot. Clancy Pearce can't keep it alive.
The intercept marks, key. I'm not sure if you're down there, but that is one stat that the coaches really look for to start their attack, really, even though it starts from defence.
Yeah, look, 60% of scores come from turnovers, so if you can create that purest of turnovers with an intercept mark, Brownie, you're away.
Beautiful when they're dangerous off the back half, and not the best kick.
McGovern. Gaff. Didn't quite strike it as well as he'd like, and Hill of the other variety can't pluck this one. Toes it off the deck, danger spot. Nat Nui lurking, Johnson. Oh, he's got him. That's got to be gone.
Well, it's a great asset of the big man, and he's finally got himself fit to enable him to do this at his best. He's been sitting in the goal square after coming off the bench at the start of this quarter, and finally they should go back and nail one.
Get the Bronx cheer here, I would have thought, Jared.
Oh, I think they'll roar for this one.
This could be it, you reckon, Dwayne? This could be the goal that turns the game around. Gets West Coast back on track.
8 minutes into the second term to get their first goal, but as I said, there's plenty of time left, and this would be the greatest West Coast Eagles derby victory of all time if they get up from here.
Well, the main thing is they can't focus on trying to get back by half-time. They need to just build, chip away, knock a couple of goals off before half-time. Here it is, the first goal of the game, big Nick Naitanui. It's good to see him spending some time forward. That'll be a difficult matchup for the Fremantle defenders.
He's been in good form again, Nick Naitanui, but he doesn't get a lot of kicks. There's a lot of debate over that. Just the 2 kicks again for the game last week against Carlton, but one of them was on the highlights reel for sure. Worlingham. Got players back. Oh, he missed them completely. Taverner, the steal.
I really like the look of young Taverner, Jared. I think there's obviously big expectation for him to come along and be the second forward or the foil for Matthew Pavlich and really develop into being the #1 forward in his own role when Pavlich retires. And he's shown some really good signs so far today.
Well, he started well, hasn't he, with a couple of goals, and that one should have been another. It's just a couple of little moments of a lapse of concentration, I think, that will leave his game as he matures.
Shepherd to Hill. This looks better. The crowd starting to get into it. Kennedy's on the march. Can he get there? Yes. That's a mark. It was right on the paint. To the pocket.
Oh, well played.
Yeah, Ibbetson's in outstanding form right now.
Jared, want to discuss the theory of the loose man, the +1 back when you're down 70 points to 10 like West Coast find themselves now. If we track back to halfway through that first quarter was when Adam Simpson employed the loose man. Fremantle have had 11 inside 50s and scored 8 times. It hasn't really worked, and I know that's probably the biggest problem in coaching circles now. Do you stop it at the source, or do you stop it behind the ball?
Pavlich, good fly. Ball hits the deck. Umpire calls play on. Just discuss that a bit further, guys, because, I mean, the +1 at the pack or behind the ball is something that all coaches think about all game.
Well, I think the +1 works best when there's midfield pressure because the ball comes in without being able to spear it onto somebody's chest. But at the present time, you could have an extra 3 back there in that first quarter in particular. But the pressure was so poor by West Coast midfield, they would have just kicked around it.
Exactly right. And having the extra number there, too, to try and sharpen up his taps.
Gaff, he gets his moment. Touched on the line.
So Ross Lyon seems to be winning that battle of where to place your loose man or your spare man at the moment. But you're right, Jared, the pressure is the main thing. And Fremantle's has been manic all day.
It has, and it's been less than satisfactory by the Eagles. It's lifted slightly in this term. We're starting to see them get some genuine shots at goal, but they're a shell-shock group and they're making some fundamental errors like Wellingham's cross straight to Taverner.
Fife about to jump. Oh, he just got nudged under that. Still on his hands and knees, Nat Fyfe. Shepherd.
Now that's just a hack. That's just a hack kick under pressure going to no one. Fortunately, it hit an Eagles jumper.
They needed a bit of luck. Kennedy's about to rise. Big fist McFarlane. Got the belly of the Sharon and knocked it downhill. Wellingham backtracks. And has the crack. And that could be a tide turner.
Geez, we've seen some fair goals here today. Most of them been from Fremantle, but that's right up there for goal of the day.
Yeah, that was a gun goal. And it was an individual effort. And they're going to need a few more of those to start believing. But the individual efforts times by the team and a bit of cohesion from the team will make these a hell of a lot easier. Some would argue it's out of bounds, but they're getting no arguments from here.
Yeah, exactly right. There it is there. Oh, you made the call. I reckon that was out of bounds there, Jared.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of controversy. Footy gods here, maybe, seeing that the West Coast Eagles needed a bit of luck. Fremantle, if you just joined us, kicked the first 11 goals of this game. The West Coast have kicked the last 2.
So they decided to put McGinnity up onto Stephen Hill on the wing. So that'll be a hard matchup now.
Tougher for Hill to obviously get these under contested balls that he's been wreaking havoc with.
The scramble. De Boer feeds it back. Daniel Pearce. Mains forward, Pavlich forward. Fingertips of Pavlich, tried to flick it to Main, he got it out. Pritis, Butler. Fans just starting to find their voice again as well, which is good to see. West Coast fans had a horror first term to watch. No goals for the West Coast in the opening quarter. They're pursuing well, but Pearce too clever. Good mark from Govan.
It's his first intercept mark of the day, I think. It's the third, is it? He's getting up there.
He's just an unbelievable talent, this guy. How he has not been in this system longer is remarkable, but he had a few contributing factors of his own.
Lysette, good fist.
Yes, and he certainly needs to stand up. There's Lysette there, Nick Nat's partner in crime, taking over that role from Dean Cox, of course.
Gaff. Little bouncer. Hill turned into trouble. Lacroix tried to tow it away. Sandlands. Hill. Mundy.
Good attack on the ball by Stephen Hill, though. Inside. Won it, delivered it, got it back. Whipped a handball out to Chris Main. He's fighting hard despite the fact that he's piggybacking McGinnity around now.
5 caught, gang tackled.
Just have a look here. You can see what Adam Simpson's done. He's made this game completely one-on-one. This is where contested footy will come to the fore. If you break from clearances now, you'll get good opportunities to score.
I'm surprised it's taken him this long, though, Kingy. Did it last week against Carlton and got the game back on track, but he's waited till halfway through the second quarter.
Neal stole it from Lysette to Pavlich. Schofield right with him, manhandles him. Pavlich still too good. Back to Neal, who gave it to him initially. Main, Duffield, Taberner leads inside 50. Just in front of him. Taberner tried to keep it alive, but McGovern played him well.
Umpire's been red hot on potential throws or hoiks or shovels. Let's have a look at this one.
Thanks, gents. Keep the meter.
He's got away with a couple of those.
Very difficult to know whether the fist was closed or not, but...
Oh, Neal. Sandlands down to Neal to goal. That was out of their playbook.
Served up on a platter there. Young Lockie Neal, terrific year last year. Maybe flies under the radar a little bit, but only because there's so many great midfielders for Fremantle. He's hard to match up. Look at this for a set play. Over the back. They would have worked on that a lot throughout the year. And if you can score goals from your forward 50 stoppages, it can be really disheartening for the opposition. There he goes. Nice little finish there. Just waltzed in the goal.
Yeah, Lockie Neal as McGovern, who's been clearly the Eagles' best player. He looks like he's in trouble, but gee, Lockie Neal, half-time, which is still 10 minutes away. He and Stephen Hill would be featuring heavily, you'd think, in the votes for best on the ground.
Nat Nui tried to take it away. Huey. Spur turned him inside out beautifully. Sheed just hanging off him, got nowhere near him. Johnson. And now they've got the spare man out. Mundy. Thought about Clancy Pearce. Still got Clancy Pearce. And Clancy Pearce has got it. This is beautiful to watch. Clark, goal square.
Well, they're wounded, the Eagles. They've now lost their 3 best defenders.
It's a disaster.
Given that McGovern has come from the ground and they went in without their 2 of their better ones, including arguably the best fullback in the game. But it still doesn't excuse a lack of pressure up the ground. It's the one thing that I think would be most disappointing for Adam Simpson and the Eagle supporters.
Might be hard to believe, but I think you better believe it. Fremantle may actually be this good.
I think they are, Dwayne. I think that Fremantle are right up there. They've shown that in the first few weeks. The game in round 1 against Port Adelaide was like finals pressure. There's McGovern on screen. They definitely don't want to lose him. He's probably been West Coast best player in season in 2015. Not sure what he's done there. He's hurt the front of his shin or his knee.
I think it's a left knee, Brownie.
Hopefully he hasn't done a posterior there, because that's quite often if you come down and land on your kneecap like that. Looks a lot of concern on his face. Talking to the doctors.
David King down there will keep you in touch with that. But they've got their mojo back again, Fremantle. West Coast get the clearance. Kennedy stands under it. Almost a big fly at the back. Lysette went up, couldn't bring it down.
And a better attack on the ball from that Nui there. I love him just going front on and jumping. I know sometimes the players come across the line and try and prevent that run, but on that occasion, and I know he was up against Clark, not Sandilands, he went more direct to goal and used his leap.
McGrath hasn't seen much of it. Subban steals it from him here. And Neal, so there's 2 out there, slams it to the midfield. Flick down good to Mundy. Caught, had tons of time. Subban to Duffield, and now they've got the outlet. Barlow can go. Hands to Fife. He's got Taberner leading up short. And he hits him lace out. And here they stream forward. De Boer's going to have to go. Win early. Pavlik stayed down. Umpires found a free. It's going the West Coast way.
That'll be the way they'll kick that ball inside 50 for the rest of the match. Now you can just see in the background there, Jeremy McGovern going behind the goals into the rooms to get that left knee attended to.
Yeah, they'll take no risk. But there's a fair chance we'll see Mark be taken here today.
Schofield back on the Pavlich now after losing McGovern.
Ibbetson's ball out on the full.
Could be like a bit of the old good old-fashioned kick to kick, Brownie. Yeah, just kick it up there and see who can take a hanger.
Yeah, that's right.
Mind me, James.
You're a bit nervous if big Aaron Sandilands was going to stand on me though.
Uh-oh. McGinnity just came off the bench. Clancy Pearce, or maybe he did know, used his body okay. Gaff, McGinnity, Wellingham.
3 metres, Cameron! Cameron, 3 metres!
Gaff.
Hold, lock, hold. Thank you,
This
mate.
is the biggest margin of the game again. West Coast hit back with 2 goals, but Fremantle picked the last 2 goals of the game. Nat Nui, 5 around him. Spur caught. Did he have Pryor? And Pryor let him go. Subban. Mundy. Forced to lay the tackle in the end. It's a little help from De Boer.
Terrific tackle.
Fremantle could be top of the AFL ladder tonight. Undefeated coming into this. Had wins over a couple of good teams. Overran Port round 1 here and smashed Geelong at Geelong last week.
Look at the Fremantle players just take off now. They get away from the stoppage as quick as they can, open up that midfield space or corridor space. They'll look to get into that corridor now.
And he's overcooked the kick.
Just a bad kick.
And Sheed went to ground though. Might still come off. Marston to Shepherd. Back to Marston. Made it his problem. Sheed got up. Rosa. Short pass towards attacking 50 from Willingham. Missed the target and Barlow mops it up. Ibbotson, McFarlane. Clancy Pearce.
Push out.
Main's ball. Open forward line as well if they move it quick. Walters. Clark. Pavlich and Tabin are both inside 50. Pavlich up early. Oh, he let it fall. Might work to his advantage. I'll take that.
He's butchered a couple of chances at kicking a goal, Pav. It's all, I think that's let him down a little bit, but he was very smart there. He knew that Tabiner was in front. No, he was going to create the wrestle, and he just floated in front, took the mark, or should have taken the mark, and then butchered the shot at goal.
16th season, he's the only one who's looked nervous. Mundy to Main. And he's got little pass. Oh, he had pass options outside. He went all the way home himself. Class act.
Well, that just about summed up the game. Easy kick forward. Chris Main took a really good mark. Ball moved a lot in the air, but it was the guarding of the mark that was reflective of what's going on out here. He's only a young player.
Sandilands going over the back there in the forward 50 stoppages. That's definitely a set play. Just hits it over the back. It's a poor kick, but Chris Main was there waiting for it. He realised the opportunity, just walked in the goal. Nice banana.
Well, their biggest ever win in a derby, Fremantle, is 75 points. Right now they lead by 71. No need to tell you, there's still a bit of time left. Sandlands, Subin. Pavlich. Walters. He puts the hammer down, sizes up the big sticks.
Had the right idea. I think he was generally trying to pass that ball to Tabiner.
Not a chance. Not a chance, Kingy. The little small forward. He was going straight to goal.
He was aiming for the goal umpire, Jared.
He was, Kingy. You're spot on.
Trying to stick up for him.
Yeah, you did.
I shouldn't be sticking up for a little bloke, should I?
Nelson. Big raps on Nelson. Geelong Falcon. First derby for him. Probably can't believe what he's seeing at the moment.
But you're right, Dwayne. He's been impressive to date in this opening part of the season.
McGinnity. Pritis. Wellingham. Lysette. Hill and Ibbotson. Both felt for body. Ibbotson did brilliantly. Again. Hamill not so good. Kennedy flicks it wide. He can't hit a target. Neal to Ibbotson. Still taking it on. Could have taken it out. No, not conceding that. Bounce past to Duffield, didn't work. Pritis. Shuey. Had to go wide. There was no one in the square, and Hill takes the gully catch.
Need to be precise because Fremantle had a lot of numbers there, but they won't be as concerned. This is a wide shot, even though pockets are reasonably shallow here at Subiaco, at Domain Stadium.
First game of the season for Josh Hill. The crowd need it. And he gives it to them.
It's been made to work hard to get his spot back in the side. And we know he's an accurate kick, and he's proven it once again. He flirts with forward pressure. I think he's capable of applying it as well as anybody. But for some reason, he's not found himself in the side. Cripps, I think, has taken his position, and he's had a pretty good start to the season. Jason Cripps, he's kicked some goals, and he's laid a hell of a lot of tackles. He's a good young player.
Got it out, please.
There's Jack Darling there on screen, and that's why Josh Hill is playing in the forward line. They want him to play a little bit of aerial work there with the girlfriend. He should give us a kiss for the cameras.
I'm not sure the scoreline would be conducive to a smile and a kiss right now, Brownie, but I know where you're coming from. We've got a few out here at Mackenzie, of course. Scott Selwood, Xavier Ellis, Mitch Brown. So they are missing a few. Simon Tunbridge also injured for the West Coast Eagles.
Come on, Dwayne, you old romantic. It's time for a kiss at the footy always.
Hill to the pocket. Lacroix tried to feed back onto it. Kennedy keeps it in. Gaff. McGinty goal square. Hill the fist. Nui just out of his reach. Crunching tackle on Everton. Mundy tunnel.
It's a bit more like the intensity, though, that we turned up here expecting. And it just has not been there from one side often enough.
Not 15. Johnson told to go. Couldn't give it back to Spur. Went all the way back to Mundy. And they're hitting the passes as well.
That's the disappointing part, Dwayne. That's the disappointing part. There's just too many easy targets for Fremantle out there today. And when the roles are reversed, the West Coast can't find an easy uncontested mark. This is just too easy on counter-attack.
Two-time premiership kangaroo David King on the boundary line. For Derby 41, De Boer.
Well, Rose has got the job on Fife. He's been reasonably quiet in this term, just to 4 possessions, so Rose is doing a reasonably good job.
We know West Coast are out there trying, but just lacking that intensity when it comes to a defensive chase and applying the pressure to lay a good tackle and slow down Fremantle. They look like they're really labouring across the ground, Dwayne.
Sandlands had the reach on Hearn, and the short passes are probably his thing. Marston.
Hands have been good today, though. Sticky.
Oh, yeah. Kennedy. And nice to see him get his hands on one.
A tough day. Luke McFarlane's done a pretty good job. The West Coast just haven't had enough inside 50s. With Josh Kennedy, he takes a lot of marks on the lead.
A different day for him compared to last week. 10 goals last week and has to face this week. Clancy Pearce. He thumps it wide into space. Walters almost pulls it down. Kennedy with the crumb. Marston heads back now. Prittis can go. He's got a wall ahead of him. He looks up and there's just no options.
And I'm not sure Ross Lyon, Kingy, would be happy with that kick out to Walters, given they've got the tools straight down the corridor.
And he loves the corridor, doesn't he, Ross? We've seen that the last couple of weeks. He's an aggressive coach. They've got their key forwards on song today. Just give them opportunity. Top of the goal square. Keep it simple. He watches everything, Ross. Look at him there. You were in the pre-game with him, Jared, in the box there. He hasn't fired as many blows today as what he normally does.
No, he's been a relaxed Ross today. I'll tell you what, he'd be happy with what he's seeing, though. It's
McFarlane. Almost. Spur. Johnson. Spur. Mundy. Are they as good now as they've ever been, Jared? I know they played in the grand final a couple of years ago.
Oh, I think they are. I think they're better than that, Dwayne. I think they've got some games into Lockie Neal. I think Walters is a more mature player. I think Zach Clark is looking better.
They score more too than they did in their grand final year.
They've had a pretty good crack at it this year so far.
Beaten 2 really good opponents as well, Port Adelaide and Geelong.
I think that the point you make there, Dwayne, is right. Ross has definitely evolved with the game. He's a little bit more attacking. No doubt defensively they're still very strong, but attacking the corridor, I think that's been probably an area that's changed a little bit more, or more of an emphasis for Ross.
Well, if you're not watching the best team in the competition, you're certainly watching one of them. Fremantle, unbelievably scary good in this opening half. A 14-goal opening half after they kicked the first 11 goals of the game. 14-5. Plays 3-5. An 11-goal margin at the half-time break. David King's heading downstairs. He's going to have a chat to one of the Fremantle stars. Let's head down to Kingy.
David Mundy with me. What a fantastic first quarter of football. What's the focus from here on in?
Just maintaining our edge. You know, we can't let the scoreboard dictate our effort or how we go about it. So it's going to be a great challenge. We know West Coast's going to come out fired up in the second half. They're a proud side, so I won't be copying that.
What about personally? How do you think the clearances are going?
Gary, I think the numbers say we're up. I guess it's the whole team approach to the clearances. The forwards got an impact when we clear it in order for them to be beneficial, but I think we're working well in it.
Go and have a break, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Well, this will be the West Coast Eagles' greatest ever derby win, or it might be Fremantle's, their biggest margin ever, 75 points in a derby win. Right now, the Dockers lead by 66. Half-time in Derby 41, and the story so far, well, it's been the Fremantle show. Zach Clark, Matt Taverner, Michael Walters, stars shining wherever you look. Taverner kicked his second. Fremantle kicked the first 11 goals of the game. Chris Mayne got in on the act. Stephen Hill, well, arguably the best of them so far today. From 80 metres out, long range run. Adam Simpson wondering what he can do in the second term. It took until the 8-minute mark of the second term the West Coast Eagles to get there first. And the Eagles did kick 2 goals in a row, but Fremantle, they are looking scary right now. And to tell you a little more about it, the 3-time Premiership Lion Jonathan Brown and the Brownlow medalist Jared Healy.
Thanks, Dwayne. It's been the complete performance by the Dockers to half-time, the lead of 66 points, and no matter which way you fry it, it looks pretty ugly for the Eagles right now.
It does, Jared. Fremantle's pressure right from the get-go was terrific, and they've also been able to attack really well. They've got numbers up around the contest, and when they have won the footy, they've really run forward fantastically well, and that's been led by Stephen Hill, who's been able to kick 3 goals off the wing. Amazing that he didn't get tagged from the start of the day. It took him till halfway through the second quarter to put McGinnity onto him.
But you spoke about the pressure, and we're seeing a fair bit of it on display right now. Naitanui has won enough of a share of the first possession or the first tap out, and yet the first possession and the clearances has gone too often the way of the Fremantle Dockers.
It has, exactly right. It looks like Fremantle are putting extra numbers around the stoppages. West Coast are putting extra number behind the ball, but at the moment they've got those extra numbers to help shark Naitanui's taps, and also Sandilands has been dominant in there, and Lachie Neale's been on the receiving end of a lot of them. He's had 23 possessions, kicked 3 goals. He'd be running around loving life at the moment because a lot of the opposition emphasis gets put into Fife and Mundy especially.
Yes, the pressure has been A-grade, and David King, the movement of the ball's been A-grade as well.
Well, it has. The Fremantle Football Club been afforded some luxuries today. The West Coast defensive brand hasn't really come. Let's have a look at a couple of the kick-outs, and one in particular. They go coast to coast here. Now, this is just far too easy at this level. They've kicked 2 goals from kick-ins. They've only had 5 opportunities. That's an amazing ratio. And just look how hard they work through the middle of the ground here, getting forward to the West Coast midfielders, and they go off to the races, charging to the goal square. They've killed them on counterpunch. They've had 18 defensive 50 chains for 6 inside 50s and 3 goals. And the West Coast haven't afforded the same luxury the other way. They've turned the ball over time and time again, coming out of their back 50. 13 times they've turned it over, which is gives those repeat inside 50s we talk about often, Jared, and that's conceded 4 goals. So to me, it's a pretty simple game, but the Fremantle guys are simply working harder.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kingy, and that's something that Adam Simpson will be addressing. They've got to win the ball to be able to move the ball. And right now, he might be hoping that a few of these young lads bob up and help him in the second half. The Auskickers having fun. So too are the Dockers. They lead by 66 points.
Team, really tough first half. What's your instructions now to the ruckman? What can you try and do?
Oh, just really good contest. I think we've been smashed 33-11 in clearances or something. So for us, it's about trying to get our first hands, try and really restrict his dominance, but then our mids just have to get the job done as well by winning the hunt.
Contested footy, the focus.
Massive, I think. Yeah, we're coughing the ball up, and they've got a really good midfield, but it's a big focus for us now.
Good luck, mate.
Thanks, mate.
How the West Coast would love to have Dean Cox out there right now. 66 points, the half-time margin. Biggest margin of the game's been 71. Fremantle, the undefeated Dockers, looking to continue their ominous start to 2015.
And some good news there, Dwayne. Jeremy McGovern back on the ground, Brownie, so that gives them some chance at stopping the onslaught so far.
Yeah, lost a lot of their key position players this year. Jack Darling, of course, not out there.
Second half underway. Still a ton of time left in this. Nat Nui, the initial knockdown. Can they get the clearance to go with it? They can. Rosa to half forward. Flicked down by Cripps. McGinnity around his body, but has he got it around enough? He hasn't.
Where you are. Thank you. Hold where you are.
Ibbotson held up.
And as has been the case, they're able to find a target pretty easily to get that ball outside of their forward 50.
Johnson to McFarlane to Pavlich, who crashes it. Fife. Pearce back outside, ignored Fife for the return to Sutcliffe.
And it was a good decision because he was about to be buried, Fife, if he had have taken the ball.
Like, look at this kid, Matt Taberner, leading strongly at the ball. Shannon Hearn was on him. Pretty happy with his day so far.
Sutcliffe goes back. McFarlane to Johnson. Trying to create the loose man to the open side. They do by hand. Duffield was waiting for Spurs kick, and now over the top Barlow. He can go if he wants to. He's being shut down. Fife calls for it long. Goes longer. Pavlich. Sandlands. Marston. Inside. Rosa caught. Butler sees it out.
Well, they've got it in the vice now, the Fremantle vice. And they're just about to squeeze and see if they can squeeze a goal out of it.
Looking for one-on-one matchups here. The West Coast midfielders, a bit more accountability. Elliot Yeo's in there now. Looks like he's got the Fife matchup.
Daniel Pearce in good form so far this year as well. Scrambles a kick. Gaff cuts it off. Barlow, arms free. Hits Pritis though. To Marston. Goes back.
Good tackle.
Yeah, good crunching tackle as well. On sheet.
Boys upstairs, I think you learn just as much, if not more, in losses. Not, always learning in your wins. And I think that they'll learn a lot about the West Coast playing unit. There's a lot of injuries around the West Coast Eagles at the moment. They're depleted of key backs. We know that. There's problems in the midfield with Selwood and Ellis not out there today. So it's a real challenge for them to play this game out and just get something from today. And I think that Adam Simpson will be looking to learn something.
Yeah, he'll be looking for the energy levels from some of these players and just who wants to work the hardest. It's tough. Everyone's been in this position that's played the game. But he wants to be able to walk off knowing that in the second half he got a response. And that's what we're looking for from the Eagles players, a response. And the other thing I reckon the Dockers are looking for is a BOG from Chris Mayne. At least his best performance, I think, so far for about 12 months.
Yeah, that's right. I am doing the votes. Jared, are you trying to push him in there, are you?
Oh, I think there's a couple of spots already taken at this stage, Brownie, so we're only working on one.
It's fair to say, I reckon Lockie Neal's gone straight to the top of the charts after his first half. Just need to tidy up. Got too many loose guys Fremantle have around this stoppage. There's one of them is Duffield.
Doesn't Ross Glendenning just pick his own winner after your votes get tabled anyway?
That's history, Drone. That's history. Things have changed.
Yeah, I saw Ross in the rooms before the game, actually. He was talking to Matt Pritis. He was in the West Coast Eagles room, still looking fit as ever, Ross Glendenning. And at the moment, it looks like being a Fremantle winner of that medal. But boy, has Chris Mayne got a few superstars ahead of him in the queue.
Loving the unrewarded running by the Dockers, and that time was Stephen Hill. He's not happy. Michael Johnson, he ignored him. He ran about 100 metres to get a 30-metre kick. And it wasn't rewarded, so he gets an opportunity now. One of the challenges for the West Coast midfield is 99% of the time they play, they can guarantee they know where the ball's coming because Nat Nui dominates hit-outs. And yet today, he's got a challenge and they've got a challenge.
Oh, Fife just carving his way through the middle. Mesmerised them again. Subin. Taberner. It's through his hands. He might still peel back. He's got Pavlich, who he wanted to give it to Pavlich. Schofield got in the way.
Well, he won't learn from last week's mistakes, Taberner there. He didn't handball to Nat Fife. I think that was going through his mind, so he was ready to handball it on, but in doing so, he's dragged himself a free kick, so it's a win-win for him.
Yeah, good effort. Be very happy with his game. The next part of his development will be to take that contested mark when it did get kicked into the forward line, Jared.
Bit more body strength.
Bit more body strength. That will come with more years in the gym. I think Ross will be very happy with his progress so far.
And he's now got 3 goals for the afternoon. Matt Taverner.
Yes, he's got himself set. He's got the base for a big bag. If he can get 3 early in the third quarter, who knows where it could finish. He's looking for 5 or maybe even north of 5.
Exactly right. You just push in there. You'd like to see him just push into Shannon Hearn and create some space in the drop zone. But wouldn't your eyes be lighting up at the moment, Jared, the way the ball's coming out of this Fremantle midfield? And he would be pretty happy with that Shannon Hearn matchup if that stays on all day.
Well, we're back in the centre, and just having a look at the 4 players for the Fremantle Dockers. 20 years ago, they were all taller than the average ruckman.
Fife walks his way free. Another clearance. Taverner the target again.
Oh, almost.
And a couple of pieces of it. Walters. Disciplined centering kick. Pavlich thought about the knock on. He goes for goal himself.
And I think even the skipper came under the glare of Michael Barlow there. Thought it might have just been a little hook inside.
Jeez, make sure you glare at Matthew Pavlich. He's almost untouchable, but everyone plays to the team rules. That's one of the great strengths of Ross Lyon coach teams. They play their role beautifully.
Yeah, the one thing they'll be looking at to guard against will be millionaire footy stuff, and that's the stuff that just sets the trend.
Yeah.
Nothing glamorous about that tackle, just good old-fashioned grunt.
Fife. Short. A few people saying that Fife been that good the first couple of weeks. I think he's got 7 Brownlow votes, hasn't he, so far this season?
Yeah, he's been very good. I think he's almost the best player in the competition. Of course, it's hard to go past Buddy Franklin. They're 2 separate players, but certainly at the moment you would say he's the best midfielder in the competition, Dwayne.
Daniel Pearce. And kick a long ball on the left, and he delivers. He very rarely lets you down, Daniel Pearce.
And we saw why Fife is regarded as one of the best players in the competition, because he does it all. He can get mark of the year, he can kick goal of the year, but he is just a beast when it comes to the defensive elements of the game.
He's a really good kick as well. Look at that. And that's one of the areas that Fremantle has focused on in the pre-season, is that ability to hit the target inside 50. Daniel Pearce has had a pretty good game so far. He's up to 19 possessions.
Good season he's building. It's only 2.5 games old for them, but he's got a foundation underway.
Lycett from the ball up, but he knocks it straight down to Barlow. Crunch, got it up. Fife, Walters, Main, not quite. Govan, good to see him up and running after getting hurt in the first half. Rosa, Shepherd, danger, Prentice, bang, Walters took him down. Marston went and got it. Kicks to the wing in hope. LaCroix hasn't seen a lot of it. Clark, Johnson, Fife. De Boer gives him a task. Butler's right with him.
Gave him a challenge there.
And Butler kept his feet. Oh, he's gone. Hill snuck up from behind him.
Geez, he works hard, Hill.
Barlow to Pearce again. Pearce wants this back. He's running on. Duffield. And he gives to Pearce, who's on the left. Good centering, top of the square kick. Taverner and Pavlich. Willingham. Rosa.
Just having a look at Matt Taverner. This is a career best 3 goals so far in his 15th game of AFL football. You've got to cash in on days like this. They've kicked 16 goals already, Fremantle. This is a day where he needs to make it a 5 or a 6 goal bag just to entrench a spot in this forward line.
Sandland with the reach. Hands it off to Subin.
Great tackling there from Lycett. He blocked him. He went to his left side, knew he was a left footer, and he buried him. Excellent work.
Sheed. He's got a couple of free players. LaCroix He's got Kennedy, or he's got the goals. This is for 300 career goals for LaCroix, and he's still on 299.
Fremantle defenders played that really well. Michael Johnson, Luke McFarlane. They were able to just create enough doubt in LaCroix's mind. He did have Kennedy streaming forward. He just didn't quite know whether Kennedy would end up free. Good defence by Fremantle. They don't seem to be pressing as hard up the field with their defence this year, Fremantle. They're quite content to get numbers back behind the ball and set up from defence.
Mundy to Main. This looks solid. He's got Leeds coming at him. Taberner. He's got Pavlich. He's got Sandlands. He goes in the Pav direction. Sandlands was the free man and towed to the boundary. That's a win.
Well, we just saw the Eagles not press up at all. They kept basically man-on-man in defence. But this ground is so elongated in comparison to others that if you can kick the ball with the skill and dexterity of a side like the Dockers that haven't got much pressure, then you're going to be able to find space anyway. So I think you've got to just take your chance, push them up and try and kill it and keep it inside your forward 50.
We're watching the Fremantle forwards at the moment. They're living in paradise at the moment. They have that much space. They can run back towards goal and then they can lead back at the kicker. There's so much doubt and confusion thrown into the West Coast defenders. I'd hate to be out there as a West Coast defender at the moment. Your head would have to be on a swivel.
And you've got blokes like Mundy coming through unpressured, just delivering it lace out.
Yeah, and that's the thing you spoke about before. All their midfielders are really good kicks as well. The guys that are on the inside, and of course the ones on the outside, Hill, Daniel Pearce, just to name a couple.
Seems to be a trend because the reigning premiers of the last 2 years have got a lot of good kicks as well.
They do. A lot of good left footers as well.
Can pick you apart.
Yeah.
Well, Ross Lyon's still learning about this team as well. He's trialing Aaron Sandlands at full forward now. He hasn't clunked many down there over the last couple of seasons, but this is a big chance again. Can they look at a new, reinvigorated forward line?
Well, especially with Ballantyne, he's not there today, of course. He'll be back next week or two, but Walter's there as well. They've got good ground level presence, so Sandlands will just need to bring the ball to ground to bring those little blokes into it.
Farland.
I think he has to catch him, Brownie. I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't be taking a mark or two down there a week and drawing a free kick if he can.
Sutcliffe, nice loop over the top. So Duffield descended into Sandland's direction. It was touched, didn't end up getting there. Wellingham.
That would have been the kick to test him out on. I'm not sure why you try and spear it through 18 players when you've got the big bloke down there.
Here goes LaCroix. This could be 300. No one's ahead of him. Being run down. He needs a bounce. 300 goals for Mark LaCroix.
Yeah, just a little bit sloppy there by Fremantle's defence. It was a quick break by West Coast off the half-back flank. Garrick Ibbotson just lost concentration momentarily. Mark LaCroix was able to slip out the back, and it's probably the first mental error that Fremantle have had all day. Good effort there by Hill to just keep the ball in the area. Cripps ran on. You just see there, LaCroix was able to sneak out the back of Ibbotson, get forward, kick his 300th goal.
Gave the West Coast fans something to cheer about finally. Their home game, of course. And if you have just joined us, Fremantle kicked the first 11 goals of this game and silenced the crowd immediately with that. Sandlands wobbles one forward. Clark thumps it to ground. Pritis. See the West Coast Eagles can get some momentum. Fremantle have got a massive game next week as well. Both teams have got massive games, but Fremantle back here next week against the Sydney Swans.
Well read, Everton.
Pearce. See if they put someone in cotton wool late in this game. They've still got a sub to come on. Sandlands and Nat Nui. He wins this battle, Nat Nui. Two things in a row to bring this West Coast crowd to their feet.
Great show of athleticism. There's Pav on the bench.
He could be put in cotton wool for next week. Hayden Crozier, their sub.
Tell you what, Pav has not dropped off at all.
No.
He's fantastic. He's resilience for a 300-game player. I don't think he ever missed a training session, never missed a game.
Sutcliffe. That's the thing, when you're 33, turning 34 late this year, and you drop form for a week or two, everybody says you're too old. When you're 22 and you drop form, it's just that you've dropped form.
It's a fallacy.
Well, the good thing for Matthew Pavlich is that Ross Lyon, if he's got any doubts, Matthew will just give him the phone and the number of Bernie Quinlan and say, give Bernie a ring.
How old was Bernie, Jared?
He was 36 when he hit his straps, Dwayne.
Yep.
He was just a great player. I think he won a Brownlow after 30 years of age, and he was just a phenomenal player right through to the end, and I think he retired at 36.
And the impressive thing is Pav's just not sitting deep in the forward line waiting for the ball to come to him. He's working hard. He's getting a lot of tackles, getting up the ground.
Brilliant. Great body work, legal body work.
Well, we thought about it. He didn't go off his line, so it's not play on now. It is De Boer. And the reason you mentioned Burley Quinlan, not, say, Michael Tuck or Craig Bradley is, or it's because Bernie was more a Matthew Pavlich type of player, Jared.
Yeah, he was actually a ruck rover when he started, and he went to Fitzroy, and he became one of the finest forwards in the game.
Sharing it around Sutcliffe. Well, I tried to be clever. It didn't work. Hearn.
And could kick the ball as well as anybody, hence his football nickname in Super Boot.
Ibbotson again puts his body on the line. 72 points the margin. 16 goals to 4. 74 points, one shy of the biggest ever Fremantle win in a derby of 75. Can the West Coast Eagles stop Fremantle from creating some club history as Pearce tries to cleverly pass inside 50? McGovern held when he doesn't have it. West Coast Eagles still have the biggest ever win in a derby to their name. It's 117 points. So right now they're on track to at least stop that from being eclipsed.
Just those last couple of entries inside 50, Brownie, without Pavlich down there, it's a good opportunity to have a look at the system and the talent down there and see how they would, what dividend they'd provide, and it's failed the last couple.
Yeah, it's a good point, King, because we know that in finals they're going to have to kick it along a lot into their forward 50, a lot of contested marks. Can't rely on kicks to leads all the time.
Well done to Kennedy, working really hard, led forward, then went back into space. And the big man is, it's almost like there's a personal battle going on out there between Nat Nui and Sandilands.
Yeah, it's intriguing to watch, isn't it?
So do you think Nat Nui's just been told to stay with Sandilands wherever he goes?
I'm not sure, but I reckon I've seen Sandilands run faster for the football than I have for a week or two with Nat Nui there.
Who's the biggest man in town? Sandilands has got an inch or two on him. Hill down the middle. Arlo got his hands free. Back to Hill. Oh, good trap on the run. Short pass. Main, look out. Clark's on the lead. Hands it off instead to Neil. Thumps it long. Clark could go up. He's got it. Did he hold it long enough? Taberner. Back to Clark. Shrugs one. Sidestep. Gone.
Well, there's about 6 mistakes made there, but they should all learn. The first one was primarily Clark should have pushed the body out of his direct opponent, and he would have then taken an easier chest mark than the one he dropped.
He made a meal of that. Here it is here.
He should have gone forward and bodied him.
Probably thought it was marked though. Anyway, that's all right.
Gaff, not 15, told to go. Nat Nui sits under this.
You've got to go here, West Coast. Fremantle very disciplined, getting numbers back though, especially their midfielders.
Nat Nui turns it over. Fife, and they're away on the rebound here. Neil goes inboard. Barlow. Wellingham. It opens up for the West Coast. Hearn. Butler. And hold them up. And the fans getting more and more restless.
Well, they want them to go forward, and at the moment the Eagles are still trying to use a methodology that they've worked over the summer for. Trouble is that they're missing many of the chess pieces that they expected to be there.
Kennedy. To the pocket to Lacroix.
While this play's going forward, Dwayne, Jeremy McGovern's come to the bench again. He's grabbing that left knee. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the last we see of him today.
Yeah, that'll be a huge loss. They lost Mitch Brown as well, and Eric McKenzie. Their other two key defenders are expecting him to pick up the slack and probably have to take the best opposition forward each week. That'll be a disaster for West Coast if it is a injury that'll cost him a few weeks.
He's done. He's got the red vest one.
And they've got a relatively inexperienced player to come on, Liam Duggan, in his first ever derby. Welcome to the big time, Liam. Good flies on the goal line, thump through for a behind.
High hopes for him though. He's the first round pick from last year, I think, young Liam Duggan. Here's McGovern. He just seems to land on his knee pretty heavily. You're an old physio, Jared.
Yeah, it's difficult to work out exactly. I mean, he could have put a bit of strain on the medial side of the knee, but he could have also looked as if he was worried about his kneecap. Yeah. I mean, you can land like that and strain a posterior cruciate, but I don't think they would have let him back on if there was any ligament issues or potential ligament issues. So
more common with ruckman, isn't it, or posterior, when they clash knees in the centre bounces.
I think the good news for the Eagles is that he has been sent back out, so you'd imagine it's not going to be a long-termer.
Bife, not quite. Shuey caught, gang tackled, taken to the boundary.
We saw Lacroix having a shot on goal before, and there's a huge weight of responsibility falling on the shoulders of Lacroix and Kennedy to kick goals throughout. Shuey, talented young midfielder for West Coast. He had his colours lower today, though.
He's no Robinson Caruso out there at the moment. Walters ducked his head into that, so no free.
One thing I've noticed today, Jared, is just how high Fremantle kick the ball. They really give their tall midfielders and tall forwards a chance to launch at the ball. It's very rare they'll fire darts forward of centre.
Yeah, they've got the artillery to go long and high if they like, but just going back to that Michael Walters one, Dwayne, I'm with you. I think it's an issue that Mark Evans and the football guys have to address with the umpires. Blokes leading with their head, ducking their head, generally they get it right, but when you lead with your head and you drag a head-high tackle, I think there's got to be a question mark as to whether or not you deserve it. I know you spoke about one last night up in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, we did. Jed Adcock ducked his head and he got a free kick. Probably didn't deserve it, and just got to be really careful. I agree with you there, Jared, and I think the umpires are instructed to pay the free kick if in doubt.
How's that for a first possession for Liam Duggan? The first time he comes on as the sub, second game, and he gets hammered by a hospital handball to him. Just his second game of AFL footy. As you said, Brownie, early pick. He's a pick 11. High hopes for him. Off hands. Fife.
He's as good as anyone in the competition above his head.
Well, and below his knees.
That's right, he's got it all. I just couldn't believe how big these Fremantle midfielders are. I saw Mundy warming up before. He's like a centre forward. And big midfielders win big games. They're just so hard to tackle. When the games become really contested, hard to bring them down. They can always get their hands free.
That'll work back. Does it work back too much? It does.
It's really come on, of course. He was out. There's Walters now. Just ducked there. Yeah, I agree with that, Jared. He shouldn't have got the free kick there. You make the decision to duck your head, all bets are off, I believe.
Yeah, is all bets off for the second one as well? That was the hard part. Maybe the second one was paid with that one. Wellingham. Otherwise, someone, if they see you duck your head first time and get away with it, you got a free hit.
That's right, mate. They will bring that in, you reckon, Dwayne.
Nelson. Spur couldn't quite take it out, and there is Duggan getting a touch to Prentice. Top of the square, and Hill floats in, held it long enough. So they could make this scoreboard look respectable by the end of this contest, the West Coast Eagles. They were, at one stage, 78 points down. This to pull it back to 66.
A little bit more on the footy this quarter. Being able to balance up the disposal count marginally.
He drills it.
There's certainly a role for Josh Hill to play coming into this West Coast forward line, especially with the injuries. With Jack Darling out at the moment, they're lacking goal-scoring power, especially in the air. A lot of responsibility falls on the shoulders of Josh Kennedy. This is something that he can do. Hill can jump up and take the mark above his head, Jared.
And he's a good kick, and you've seen it a couple of times already this afternoon. I'm with you, Brownie. There's a spot for him. He's got to work out why he keeps getting dropped.
Been able to balance things up a little bit this quarter. West Coast get the hands on the ball a little bit more, but the whole game they're 100 possessions behind. And due to, really, Fremantle's dominance of the contested ball.
I think what's happened is that their forward line has stopped functioning since Matthew Pavlich went on, and that'd be of some concern, Kingy, for Ross the boss, because Matthew Pavlich goes up to the centre like he has done there. They need other avenues and the machine to work just as well.
And I think he's resting a couple of players forward. You can see that he's pushed Fife now effectively to centre half forward. He's such a versatile player. We want to see more of him in the forward half, Jared, because we've seen him in big games. He's had some inconsistencies in front of goal, but he's had opportunities in big games. So a new look forward line, something different.
Oh, it's an area that Ross has spoken about. For Fife to go to the next level, and really he's already at the elite level, but he can still have some improvement with his kicking, especially in the forward line.
Hearn, short, Yo. Can they finish this third term with all the momentum on the West Coast? Can they sneak another here?
Well, the mental challenge for the Dockers now is that their game is based on manic pressure. They know the scoreboard tells them that they've banked the 4 points.
Prudis pumps it long. Nat Nui resting forward. Gets there.
Well done.
But if they drop off their pressure, all of a sudden the Eagles get a run on, and the scoreboard pressure starts to tell on your decisions.
Exactly right. Good to see Nat Nui go forward. I think it's a strength of his, certainly in the marking contest, but unfortunately today you haven't been able to spend too much time forward because the ball hasn't been down there. But if West Coast midfield can get on top in games throughout the year, it's definitely one worth pursuing. Nat Nui forward. He's a difficult matchup. One-on-one there with Michael Johnson. Just couldn't keep up with him.
Well, the fans have stayed. And Nat Nui gives them another reason to stay for the final term too.
It's been a disappointing day for them, but they're here, they're loyal, they can see the upside, and I think they would understand, despite the very poor performance as far as work rate is concerned, they're debilitated at the selection table.
Yeah, exactly right, Jared. That's a good point. And they had a great win against Carlton last week, but Carlton are nowhere near the opposition that Fremantle are. Have a look at there. There's the casualty ward, the selection table.
You want those magnets on the side, not
sitting in the grandstand beside their girlfriends.
Exactly.
Darling a couple of weeks away. He's going to be a massive inclusion if they can get him back late in the year. And they head to the Gabba, the West Coast Eagles, next week to play the Brisbane Lions.
Oh, well played. Lockie Neal, that was enormous attack on the footy.
Mundy towards Pavlich, Schofield. Gaff. Hearn. Dying seconds. Cripps. Probably knows how long left. Three-quarter time here at the main stadium in Perth. Fremantle lead by an even 10 goals. 16-7, 103. The West Coast Eagles 6-7, 43.
Good to see you, Ross. Prior to Derby 41, you tally at all?
Yeah, always a little bit nervous. We've done all our planning, pre-game meet just to check in, see how the guys are, and just reaffirm our plan for the day, and which doesn't change too much week to week. And I'll be nervous till the ball goes, and then you sort of get into action.
A lot of heat on with the players, but there's a lot of heat on in here. I've seen the vision that comes up from time to time. There you got.
Prepared a few times.
It's been prepared. It's in a state of disrepair. You've got Brett Kirk sits here. He cops a little bit of ammunition. I'm not sure. Can you run us around the box and where you fire your most bullets?
Down to Bondi. It's the worst job in the world. trying to get it right down there. Look, I'm getting better.
Midfield here, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's sort of Kirky, our rotation, and so 2 midfield coaches and defence, and Peter Sumich. I used to sit up the end, but just for positioning, so ease of communication. So yeah, we're collaborating quite well at the moment. And then you're just furnished with all the stats in the world in front of you. But fundamentally, I always say, trust your eyes, watch the game, because you can be caught up in screens and the game's going around you. So it really is about trusting your eyes. Don't worry about trusting the screens too much.
Fremantle coach Ross Lyon pre-game with Gerard Healy and David King, allowing us access to the coach's box. It was fantastic access, and Brownie, we did learn a few things from that, didn't we?
We did, and trust your eyes, but I think even blind Freddie could tell that Fremantle's been dominant today. They've been fantastic, and it's good to see that, because as Ross said, there's so many stats and TV screens in front of you that you can get caught up watching that, not watching the game of footy. But he'd be very impressed with the effort, especially led by the midfielders of Fremantle all throughout, and their running ability across the ground, and that's been led by Stephen Hill. Daniel Pearce has had a really good game as well. The midfielders have been able to kick some goals.
He's a self-deprecating character, though. He's good company, and asked him about the relationships in the box, and he said, well, there's only room for one idiot in the coach's box, and that's the coach. He says it doesn't get personal, but right now, it's been one of the easiest derbies he's been involved with.
He said he was nervous pre-game. He shouldn't be all that nervous right now. Final term about to get underway, and it's a 10-goal, 60-point lead. For Fremantle. He didn't recall that.
And he didn't recall it.
I reckon if scores were level, he'd recall that. You'd have to. You couldn't allow that to go on if scores were level. Cripps. That wasn't a contest at all from that ball up.
Well, the guidelines are, from memory, if it goes up inside the larger circle, but gee, that was right on the line, if not completely.
No, it's allowed to travel outside the larger circle as long as you still get a genuine contest.
Yes.
Well, the no contest rule should have applied.
Exactly. Cripps. Give them a good start to this final term. And he can't.
You think the umpire might have felt sorry for West Coast?
You'd hope not.
Well, there's the bounce. Let's have a look. You be the judge. Pretty well straight away.
Surely not in a derby the umpire would be feeling sorry for the West Coast.
The umpires make a couple of mistakes occasionally too. So maybe that was one that in hindsight he'd recall. Clark. He'll be probably happy the game won't turn on it though.
But that's a classic example, I think, where Clark needs to go to in his game. He attacked that as if he was playing basketball and as if it was a training run. I mean, he should practice going 100 miles an hour every minute of every game. And this next 30 minutes is a classic start.
He's taken some nice grabs today.
Yes, he's an improving player, but there's another level for him to aspire to.
He needs to be able to take those marks, because Sandiland's going to predominantly play in the ruck, so he's going to have to go forward, contribute to the goal scoring.
Rosa. Gaff. Shuey.
Well, again, we've got the Eagles dominating possession, hitting targets, pressure down from the Fremantle Dockers.
Natanui's in the goal square. He's hoping for a long bomb. That's a helicopter. He probably can't get near it. He gets a fist at least. Johnson, McFarlane, Johnson, Fife. With some space if it sits.
This is a dangerous back handball in this era where you get pinged, you're gone. There's no prior opportunity.
Oh, Walters turned his man inside out with perfection. That's how you do it. And they are away. They've got one-on-ones ahead. Did pretty well there, Yo. Got it out of play. Didn't give a free kick away. It was close.
That's good footy from right deep in defence to Duffield, charging forward to give an option, playing in an unusual roll-up in the forward line. Nellet Yo's closing speed and killing the ball.
Good effort.
Hayden Crozier into the game, boys. Matty De Boer's been substituted out.
He doesn't get a break, Matty De Boer. Either he is sub or he comes off a sub.
Great kick.
Avlich.
Well, Pav will keep playing till he's 40 if he gets delivery like that.
Well, he could knock this one through, or he could kick it on top of Sandiland's head.
The thing about Pav, he hasn't lost his power in his legs. That's been a great quality of his throughout his career, Jared. He's been able to keep his feet really well. He hasn't lost his speed. He's still got his lateral movement.
Well, he struck the ball beautifully in round 1 and 2. Tonight, he's been missing.
That'll bend the wrong way.
Sandilands
up and a good fist away by Lysette.
Still makes a nice clunk when the ball hits the boot on Matty Pavlich.
I reckon Big Sandy needs to give himself some space. He needs to find some separation, because when the ball's coming in on his head, blokes just jump into the side of him, and he's unbalanced and incapable almost of taking a grab.
Matt Nui, the scoop and run. He tried to get away, got caught high by Neil. Play on advantage. Shuey. Rosa. Pritis. Ran into a wall. Sits it up in the air, and this could be turnover city. Crozier just on the sub. Gives it to Hill. Clancy Pearce runs and drives it drop punt in the Taverner direction. He's got it.
Did well there. He knew that Shannon Hurn was motoring towards him. Didn't in the end make him pay for it as much as he could have. But he goes back. He's struck the ball pretty well tonight.
Yes, he has.
Browning.
He's a left footer, and most left footers are very good kicks. And he'll keep developing with his body strength, Jared. Obviously, this was an uncontested mark. Pretty much an uncontested mark, but keep working hard in the gym and start to bring the contested marking into his game. He's going to be a hell of a player, I reckon.
For number 4 for the most goals on the ground.
Really like the look of him. Moves really well. He's got good height. And he's learning from one of the great forwards in Matthew Pavlich. What better mentor to have?
Schofield. Shuey's got 2 to beat. Clancy Pearce up early, and Shuey's hurt. Clancy got a knee to his back. Clark, little flick on. Nat Nui right with him. Rosa. Gaff. Marston.
Bad as their first half was, the Eagles, they are doing pretty well at the present time. It hasn't blown out to 100 points. It looked like it was going to. And they've got some injured players out there as well as being depleted on the bench.
We saw a couple of weeks ago, Tom Rockcliffe copped a very similar hit from Travis Farco. The Brisbane Collingwood game, and he ended up with a couple of busted ribs and a punctured lung. So let's hope Luke Shuey's not that sore.
Yeah, one stage, Jared, you're right. It looked like being Fremantle's biggest ever Derby win. That's 75 points. Margin 61 now, so the West Coast Eagles at least can walk away from this game saying we were beaten, but we weren't embarrassed. Fife. Crozier. Marston. Wellingham. Butler. Hemmed in. Pritis.
Got the ball moving. They just were so stagnant early in the piece.
Gaff looks up. Short target, Kennedy.
Just came back at the kicker nicely there.
LaCroix inside 50. He ignores him. He goes central. Hill.
Well, they're moving the ball better, and Fremantle will put the clutch in.
Chip kick to LaCroix. And he's got it. That's the West Coast Eagles we expected to see at the start of the game.
I watched him lead them, Brownie, and he did 2 full circles. He actually ended up leading 3 times before he took that uncontested mark on the lead. Fantastic work rate. He would have covered 200 metres but didn't virtually leave the goal square. It was just a little spin around, a great move.
Yeah, it's a great lesson for young forwards, Kingy. You have to do a lot of work off the ball. Quite often you don't get the ball kicked to you on your first lead. Quite often second lead, third lead, fourth lead. And I think that's been why Nick Riewold's been such a great player. And we all grew up watching Wayne Carey, who was the best out of your teammate, King. Just spoke about the work rate there of Mark LaCroix. Terrific there, second, third lead. Done a few 360s on his man. And what you're trying to do here is create some, I suppose, uncertainty in the defender. Don't run in straight lines. Quite often, a lot of young forwards, they get caught in the trap of running in a straight line, and defenders are usually really quick these days, and they can keep up with a straight lead.
Yeah, good vision of Mark LaCroix leading up the corridor. Not so much great vision of Fremantle Dockers players dropping in the hole and pushing back to help his teammate out.
Fife stalking it. And they're stalking him, and again he finds space where there was none. Taverner edged under it by Hearn. So Fremantle gone to game plan C, the game plan you go to when you're 10 goals up?
Well, I'm not sure. I think Ross Lyon, though, will still be wanting to see the guys stick to their plan and stick to their structure here, Dwayne. You want to see four-quarter discipline.
They are back here next week against the Sydney Swans, and that's a monstrous game as well for Fremantle's momentum. Walters, good grab. Did he hold it? Oh, yes, he did. Landed well, bounced up, runs to 30, and drives it home.
Well, a lesson for the youngster. I know he went to ground, but he had to get up and guard that left foot. Walters is a class act. And you see, they both go to ground. He needed to fall on top of him. OK, he slips over, but he's actually given up in that contest. And he's been made to pay. But it was up the other end of the ground. Scott Lysette put the grass the ball he should have taken, which enabled this turnover.
Oh. Fair crowd grab there. A few blokes involved, but I think Ross Lyon will be very happy with Walters' return to form really today. He's looked sharp in all facets of the game, Jared.
He's an exciting player. That's a great tap and centre clearance by the Dockers.
Here's Walters again. The trap was good. Couldn't break free with it though. Nelson did well.
Better for Nelson.
Well, he took him on there. He got an arm free on Hill.
Great by Hill, coming forward to defend.
Pliers to put the whistle away a bit on Fremantle. Rosa around the body. Hill, good attack through Lysette's legs though. Hill's ball. Lacroix. Kennedy's down there. Off hands. Knocked to the deck. Neal. Duggan lays a tackle. Good spot for a ball up for the West Coast here.
So who's the dangerous player running through here?
I think Lacroix.
On Monday hit it to the outside, which was where the danger was.
Shepherd got a kick.
Got to be careful with that third man up that you don't belt it straight to the opposition.
That's right. It's a real strength for the good sides, that third man up. Can be really attacking for him.
You can't thump it over the boundary line or through for a behind anymore either. Duffield short.
That's the benefit of having taller midfielders. You can get up in those boundary throw-ins and ball-ups and hit it forward. We've seen Hawthorn do it really well with Hodge and Lewis over the years to great effect.
Quick play on, he's not on from Fremantle at the moment. Clancy Pearce.
Well, they've got the spare out now in McFarlane. They've also got one up the middle, so the corridor's being used as much as possible by the Dockers, Kingy, but there's not much pressure at all at the present time.
Nah, this is comfortable for the Dockers. They're happy to chip this one around as Fife makes his way back on the ground out in this wing near side, and this is where it'll go. They'll kick to the great man.
Jonathan Brown is voting for the Ross Glendinning medal. He's got the tough task as well.
There's a few guys putting their hand up. Lockie Neal just had that before. I'd have to say he's pretty close to the top at the moment, Dwayne.
He's already got one here in his kit bag as well, a Ross Glendinning medal. Whether or not the voters rate the first half performance worth more weight than the last quarter performance as well.
I would have thought so. He's certainly going to get at least one vote, I would have thought.
Okay. Hill flies and Lysette, good hands. More please, the West Coast fans think from him. Lacroix. Nat knew he won't get a run at this. He does in the end late, but Clark,
that's what he's capable of doing.
It is. And
that is a great contested mark.
He's marked really well. He's clunked him today, Jared, hasn't he?
He has. He's an improving player. Didn't think he was going to play after last week. Came off with a what looked a pretty ordinary knee injury down at the Cattery.
And they'll be really looking for him to be able to do that, especially in the forward line. He'll play probably 20, 30, maybe 30% in the ruck, but quite a big chunk of his game will be forward.
Well, here's the Clark mark once again.
Oh, jeez.
Jumping on his teammate. He'd be thrilled with that.
He's got great athleticism. African-American heritage, of course. Hill, Court, Marston, Sheed, Kennedy. The crowd have been waiting for him.
Well, one of his very few marks on the lead today. Luke McFarlane's rode him pretty close. Of course, they haven't had as much inside 50 supply as last week.
It's his first mark inside 50. Brad.
Yes, and this is where he gets a lot of his marks from, isn't it, King? He marks on the lead.
In the corridor, generally.
Strikes it okay, and he sneaks it in.
Really good effort there by Josh Kennedy. A nice kick, and he's one of the better kicks for goal. And I know he had a pretty bizarre kicking action a couple of years ago, but he has just taken the stutter step out. But he's still always been a very accurate kick, and hasn't seen much of this ball today. That's really nice delivery. That's going to be hard to stop. Have a look at that. Gone is the stutter step. Goes out a little bit to the right, but he's one of the more accurate goal kickers in the competition.
Josh Kennedy's only kicked the one goal today, but you can have a look at his form so far in 2015, and most of those goals are coming from the corridor there. That's why he has such great conversion. 10 of his first 12 goals are what Champion Data consider the corridor.
He kicked 61-33 last year, which is a great accuracy rate, and the year before he kicked 60-23 at 72%.
Yeah. I think he's one of the best forwards in the competition, Kingy. I'm not sure where you rate him, but certainly he's one of those old school centre-half forwards. He can get up the field as well.
We've got a few at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. Pretty exciting times.
Hawkins.
Here's Kennedy again on cue. Good Clark, good hands, strength. And is he just outside his range?
Probably a fraction too far. He's a long kick.
Natanui's in the square. He sits it up for Natanui to jump on ahead. Couldn't get there.
Brilliant work by Michael Johnson. We might get another look at that. He just took his run.
Without making it obvious and giving a free kick away. Hill. Oh, nice step. Main.
Well, they had the 6-day break coming in at the Dockers. Of course, Carlton played the Eagles 2 days earlier, so the Eagles coming off a couple of days advantage. But they shopped early, did the Dockers, so maybe psychological more than physical, but
I'm not sure they even had to swipe their credit card, Jared. That was just
a quick pay pass.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. They got some gifts early. Walked out with full bags. Nice set. Nelson thumps it back.
A few of the West Coast supporters would have been asking for a refund, I think, after quarter time.
Let's take a look at this. Just taking the body of Natanui. That's just really good work. Both going up for the ball.
Yeah.
Taking Natanui's leap away without giving away a free kick.
Lysette and Clark go at it. Much of the sting's gone out of this at the moment, but
that's 50.
Okay, so the West Coast Eagles, you would think, the way this is travelling, will make the scoreboard look a little better. Oh no, not 50. Gave him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know whose free it was, perhaps.
He got a 50.
He did, yeah, delayed.
It just worked out that it was a West Coast home game.
He's done a pretty good job today, the umpires. Jeff Dalglish, Ray Chamberlain, Jason Armstrong, three of the best in the business. And sometimes if it takes a little bit of a chat between the three to get it right, then fair enough.
No, I think that was a free kick against Mundy in the finish, Dwayne, the 50, for holding a jumper. I think I heard that through my microphone.
McGinnity kicks the goal. Kingy.
I was having a look at Mark LaCroix earlier. We talked about his mark inside the forward 50 and just how hard you have to work to get yourself some space. A small full forward. He does a couple of circles here. It's a big whip around we see from the goal umpire's hat camera. Good spin here. First one fails. Comes back again. Wraps back. He's got good defensive pressure there from Lee Spur. Goes again. Doesn't get used. Snake lead back up the middle of the ground. He's covered the best part of 150 to 200 metres in his initial leads that were failed before getting that opportunity, Barry. That's great work rate.
It is terrific, and one of the goals you're trying to do to your defender is get him to turn away from where the ball is up the field, so he loses sight of the ball. Then you're, as a forward, you're in control. You become proactive. Very hard to defend that.
Great vision too. Wasn't it fantastic to see from the goal umpire camp?
Natanui, and he bangs it inside 50. LaCroix up. Good fist. Sutcliffe got it to ground. Oh, stolen back again. Kick around the body from Duggan. Hill. Lacroix. More to cheer about for West Coast. And the scoreboard doesn't look so bad after all.
All Adam Simpson would have asked at half-time is to win the quarter. They did that by just 3 points. And he would have asked again at three-quarter time. See if we can just get a little bit more out of it. Well, it was an embarrassment at half-time, and it's turned into something far less than that at full-time.
They've done that, Jared. They've started to win the contested ball. Started to get the hands on it more. Obviously, they kick pretty well as well. There's that trophy, the Western Derby. It's one of the great rivalries, isn't it? And one of the big blockbusters, of course, leading into the biggest blockbuster of all next week, Anzac Day. But this rivals it certainly for the West Australian audience.
And the West Australian audience will get it as Kennedy flies up. An opportunity next week as well for a big occasion match here. Everton, with next week's Fremantle Sydney game here at Domain Stadium being an Anzac Day night match.
Big game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So that's going to be massive. You've got two top teams in the competition head-to-head here. Should be a full house on Anzac Day. That should be a ripper. And I think Fremantle have got a fair few big occasion games coming up this year. Maybe a couple in September. Little poke past a half forward, knocked away from Main. Yo goes back in. Lysette, Crunch, Johnson stalked him. Rosa. Curtis, Marston. Better movement this. Butler looks up. He's got Lacroix on the lead. Got him.
Much better. The Eagles fans have had something to cheer about, and they're giving them plenty, but much better work by the Eagles.
Done another loop again there. Lacroix, he was able to turn, run back towards goal, and Sutcliffe lost sight of where the ball was. Straight away then, Lacroix is in control. He can dictate when he moves. Makes it very hard then for Sutcliffe to be able to close that gap.
39,000 plus here at Domain Stadium. They've stuck around the West Coast fans for this home game, Fremantle's home derby in round 20 this season. And Lacroix lining up for number 3. No need to tell you.
Yes, he's had a pretty good quarter here. 3 goals, Lacroix, from limited service. He's tried hard all day. You see here the behind the goal shot. Now, Sutcliffe is on Lacroix. Ross Lyon would definitely want Sutcliffe to not allow Lacroix to be able to get behind him so easily. That's what all the defenders are drilled for now, to roadblock the forward. Don't let him get behind you and lose sight of where the ball is upfield. He's a young defender though, Sutcliffe. He'll learn from that, watching the behind the goal vision after the game. But he's playing on one of the best small medium forwards in the competition.
Well, it's back to 36 points, and when you look at this one in the paper tomorrow without seeing the game, the scoreline's probably not going to really tell you the story. Fife gets it free to Crozier. Unless Fremantle put the hammer down here late. Still 5 minutes left. Walters. Duffield.
Thanks, Mick. Chris, hold there. Leave it on. Play on.
The half forward. Clark couldn't get a run out. Pavlich, one arm held. Fife is forward.
That's where I'd like to see Sandilands charge to the goal square. He's got Prittis on him head-to-head, about 25 metres from goal now. He's put himself in the drop zone.
You give Fife someone to jump on. He's down there now. So both Fife, Sandilands, Clark. Sheed wins. Prittis. Little 1-2 works. They've got the outlet. Shuey looks up. He's got Kennedy in the middle. He goes wide to Lacroix. Good kick. Now Fremantle get players back. All the way back to Yo. Butler back into the lineup this week. He's a ducked in round 1. Missed last week. Back in this week. Hugs the boundary line. Good crushing spoil from Clancy Pearce. Duggan. Touchball, you heard the call. Ibbotson caught.
He's another one who's had a pretty good game.
Yeah,
Gareth Ibbotson.
Yeah.
Especially early. Pritis.
That didn't help that that Lockie Neal intercept.
McGinnity looks up. Good smother. Johnson got his body on the line. Neal, Ibbotson, Johnson. McGinnity's still down. Looks a little hurt. Ibbotson again. He's content to take the 4 points with no more injuries.
First time in Lockie Neal's career that he's gone 40 plus, boys, 41 disposals and an equal personal best 3 goals. So
now we know you're not voting for a king, but
the rest is over to you, Brownie.
Who would be getting the Ross Glendinning medal for yours? I've already put my votes in.
Well, no point me telling about it. You might as well just let us know. I think.
Well, we're very interested.
Well, you look at Daniel Pearce, who's had 10 inside 50s for the match. It's a huge number. Lockie Neal's been fantastic. Nathan Fyfe, they're the 3 best. And probably Stephen Hill when the game was in the balance.
Yeah, I think you've got to wait your votes towards the first half. It was a complete domination by Fremantle. Their pressure was outstanding, and of course, winning the ball at the stoppages. The coalface.
What's been incredible has been the conversion rate of the Dockers kicking. It's currently at 82. That's come back a couple of percent at half time, which I think was 86 for memory, 84, 86 at half time, which that's a really high rate for kicking efficiency.
Unbelievable number. Shows the West Coast pressure was down a little bit though, but they've got some elite kicking talent here for Fremantle.
It can be artificially inflated with just short kicks, etc. But I think more the point was that they're a pretty good kicking team, and they had no pressure whatsoever on them early in the game.
Havlich lurking forward. Free kick, West Coast ball, play on advantage. Shuey, Butler, Hill.
Ibbotson. Beautifully, Ibbotson.
He's taken the front spot quite a few times this year today, Jared. Really like that. He's attacked.
Sits it up for Kennedy. Can he get there to the pocket? He's got 2 to beat Kennedy. Might still beat them both. Rolls it towards goal. And it might have just touched the behind post.
But if you reflect back to the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, it was just super slow football from the Eagles. Now they're taking more risks. They're moving the ball more quickly, and they have done since half-time. And hopefully, even despite the ravages that they've got with injury at the moment, if they just at least take the challenge and run and entertain a little bit, I think they'll bring their mid-sized players much better into it. Give Lacroix a chance if they go small size down in the forward half.
Exactly right. And Fremantle were right onto it early with their team defence, weren't they? They were switched on. But with that, West Coast need to take some risks. Fremantle put some work into Shannon Hearn early. They knew he's the guy that can cut him up with his good kicking, and he wasn't able to get his hands on the ball early in the game to set up some of those kicking. And then it fell into guys who didn't have the confidence in their own kicking ability, not as good as Shannon Hearn. So therefore they just went sideways, and that plays right into Fremantle's hands. They work really well as a unit. All 18 players out there, Fremantle in defence.
Natanui held a little, and off the side of the boot from Gav. But a definite changing of the guard in WA. Fremantle, the big boys, the big contenders in town. This is 6 derbies in a row now Fremantle has won. And they've made another statement, I think, to a few other teams in the competition with their first 3 weeks. They're undefeated, the Fremantle Dockers.
Who has the most members, Dwayne? Out of the two sides.
I'm not sure membership, it's a bit false because they can't get them all in anyway. They reach a cap. Turnover, Lacroix, bizarre. What a way to finish it. Lacroix's got 4.
Well, in some ways, it's been a small reflection of the fact that the Dockers, to a large degree, have put the queue in the rack. But that Mundy would be disappointed to see himself down there for a couple of seconds. But Lacroix has given everybody here some entertainment and has had a big second half, as have the Eagles. They've worked a hell of a lot harder, and in conjunction with a much less fanatical Dockers. The scoreboard has equilibrated a little bit more than we thought would have been possible.
It has. And LeGras, one of their good leaders, he never gives up, Mark LeGras. I think that's why he ends up still walking away. A bad day for the Eagles, but he walks away with his 4 goals.
And the most of anyone on the ground, strangely enough. From the restart, Mundy dragged down Hill. So they've won the game after quarter time, the West Coast Eagles. At quarter time, if you weren't with us, it was a 52-point margin at quarter time to Fremantle. They kicked 9 goals to 0 in the opening term. They actually kicked the first 11 goals of the game, at one stage led by a monstrous 78 points. And right now the margin all the way back to 30. But it's Derby win number 20 for Fremantle, as opposed to the West Coast's 21. So it could be 21 apiece come the end of this year. The West Coast done their fair share of bullying to Fremantle over time, winning the first 9 derbies. Fremantle did some bullying of their own today. A demolition job on the West Coast Eagles to remain undefeated for 2015. 17-9, 111 to 12-9, 81.
Yes, well, again, Fremantle does the job. I think Ross will be pretty happy with the performance there. Michael Barlow in screen. Had a pretty good day there. By all the midfielders, there's young McGovern. Hopefully, he doesn't have too much of a knee injury.
David King's downstairs.
I've got what I think is the best on ground. We'll work out what the judges have done in a moment. But Lockie, it's the first time we've made the 40 possession mark. Well done, well played.
Yeah, no, I think we dropped off a bit at the end there. The fourth quarter was pretty disappointing. They got on a bit of a run, but credit to the boys, the first 3 quarters sort of set up the game for us. But yeah, if we play like we did in the fourth quarter next week, we'll be found out. So
50th game next week, so you're only early on in your career. What have you been working on to take you to the next level? Yeah, I've been working really closely with Brett Kirk. He's my duty care coach, so as you know, champion of the game and one of the fiercest players to have played. So yeah, I've been working on my competitiveness inside and tackling and things like that, so hopefully I'll lay a few, otherwise Kirky won't be too happy. How'd you go today? Do you think the midfield held sway? Early on you were amazing in that first quarter. Yeah, early on we got on top of them, but like I said, the fourth quarter they ran rampant on us, so we'll address that and hopefully fix that next week. Well done, mate. Go and join the group. Cheers, thanks, Kenny.
Singing of the song still to come. The Ross Glendinning medal presentation still to come. Fremantle in Derby 41 by 30 points.